into agent select is CDs is picking up that chamber typically, which, with the buffs that have come out, there it is. That could be, the difference maker in my eyes for this team. So that's another thing to keep your eye on is the difference between these Sentinel picks, since, I mean, that really is the only difference between these two compositions.
Yeah, one's a bit of a fragger, one's a tagger, and it really comes down to who's going to be better at being those baggers. Just who's going to find themselves in the situation to really secure these rounds on a point-to-point basis, and who's going to find themselves really securing, as you mentioned, that Sentinel impact. And while sure, on the attacking side of the map, you're not going to find nearly as much. You're looking at them for more of kind of a post-plant setup and really kind of maneuvering things and setting things up for themselves to make sure those flanks don't really come through all that often. And that's going to be a little more easy, I'd say, obviously, by the likes of a Deadlock, who can be throwing at that wall, kind of denying it and play a little more time denial. And Chamber's going to be just more outright, obviously, shooting. So, yes, whether or not those shots actually land, whether or not they manage to find themselves some early impact, because obviously the Chamber, you want to come out early, swinging with that Tour de Force to be ready as soon as possible.
Well, I mean, Ball State Red definitely came out swinging there in to be short, but evaded narrowly by Texas A&M Maroon. Take the opportunity instead to flood into the B site through B long, which was left unchecked. So map now split them, trying to clear out Joba to ensure that's one chip not stacked against them, and it's done so successfully. Regrowth as well, so that silly goofy guy Ian is not in a worse for wear situation as the jump peaks and the fights come in here. B long, nice paint shield to force the exchange, and they walk away with the frag numbers slowly depleting for Texas A&M Maroon, and it's just frag after frag in favor of Ball State, but lower HP. Aussie Frosty might be able to do something for the squad. 1v1 unfolds, but Rebo brings it out when needed to get the pistol on Ball State Red's side.
And I just wish there was a limited time mode where we get nothing but pistol rounds, because, I mean, those things are always such toss-ups. You're never really quite sure what can happen, knowing the kind of the entire lockdown that is going to be your economy. Can't go for the full buys and the shields. You're going to be going for these half armors, and Ghost just can always pull off these insane clutches. Even in Classics, the right click potential. It's absolutely, utterly disgusting what it's capable of, but seeing already 1-0 on the board here for Ball State, it's a very good start for them. Just knowing that not only can you find yourself a first, more than likely you will find yourself a second. But being on the defensive side of the map, it doesn't really provide as much pressure as you want to get yourself in these shoes of really starting to find that momentum and carry the pace of the game on your shoulders. But maybe with one running that Vandal in hand, you could provide that pressure, but it's risky.
Oh. Somehow that shot doesn't align for CDs. They're forced to rendezvous out. That allows the flood in now to U-Haul from Texas A&M Maroon. A nice angle being held, though, so that control isn't further extended, keeping members confined to the front part of the site, the comfort of this toxic screen, and actually an early flood back in with these better weapons from Ball State Red. One frag, but punished not long after with the Deagle wall bangs, and Rebo, finding a almost similar fate, is forced to retreat here. The thing is, though, Mick, no plant has come through yet.
Just waiting things out a little bit, seeing if anybody wants to overextend, maybe contest for this post plant and kind of go ahead and get it going early, but that's just not going to be the case. Nobody really going crazy just yet. Casimir going to be the first one, I want to say, probably going to make an impact here inside this round, whether they can read that play coming through. And knowing that Spectre is going to find the first, do you find a sheriff present to maybe find that trade, and it's just not going to be the case. You're looking for a little bit more of a push, putting that pressure towards U-Haul, and see if anything will open up. The only thing opening is the skulls of these Texas A&M players. With all the big rifling available to you, not really much to go by. It's finally drawn down, with the likes of Ball State finding themselves at second. 3 players alive on the latter end of it. Good looks for them for carrying things on and into the third. And having that Vandal still to play with is going to be huge for them, because it's got to be a hero in a round like this.
Yeah, I know. I really wanted to see a little bit more decisiveness there out of Tama Maroon, right? They take the A space, as we mentioned, they buy their time instead of getting the plant down. And even when Casimir came through with the flank on the Spectre, if they grouped up, if they challenged that, that could have been a weapon in their possession and a rotation over to the B site, since all that time we took buying on the A side did pull a few members over from the B site defense on Ball State Red's side. But that's in the past. Now you're on to your rifle buy round, so a great opportunity. Like you said, if you can shut down that 1 hero rifle that remains for Ball State Red. And for now, it looks like the B site is the objective.
Looking just for something, honestly, and already you found nearly everything here for the likes of Ball State. I think these first bloods are going to be very important. That's a gun now down on the ground. If you do force a rotation to hear those TPs go through, that's a player around site that can go ahead and scavenge that thing up and just create this momentum push. It just plays into your favor over and over and over again. But Texas A&M still have a wild card. They still have that showstopper available to them. So they can get this done if they need to. They know that they're going to be clustering up, that there's a guaranteed spot where we're saying a player's there. There's no way for them to get out. That can be an easy exchange, a very free pick to kind of go ahead and even the odds. But where is that going to be taken? It's going to be going over, as I just mentioned, across the map, somewhere different. Where that rifle can be scavenged now if Ball State really want it.
Yeah, and there it is, the investment, the kind of trophy from those early frags while the rounds were lost, but they almost lose their life to CDs in the sky smoke. Instead, though, control of the backside being held by these pain shells. Night contestation of space by the incendiary, late to deny the spike plant. So now, post-plant 4v4 situation. You can see how low as well that brimstone is for Tampa Maroon, likely because of that incendiary trying to get a dodge. Now getting back to the sky for the regrowth, and now kind of assuming their post-plant position with their own incendiary to turn around, but might not have to get there if Joba does all the work for them.
Absolutely clotheslining this squad. I mean, just picks back to back to back there from Joba, locking down that U-Haul area of the map over towards the A side, and nobody's gonna be wrapping things. I mean, you understand that with a wall like that, you're not getting past that guy. Easy shots over and over again, and saying the pressure's right there for main, for the middle of the site, and there's not much you can really do about that. So good looks already here for likes of Texas A&M. A new light with these guns in hand for them, saying, look, pistols may have been kind of put away from us, but we still made things pretty contentious there during that second round. But every team is completely different once you really put some real rifles in their hands.
Look at this aggressive push that's about to come out. The showstopper from Ian going the wrong direction. And I love the immediate response from Tampa Maroon to flood in the shower to try and pressure this A site. And the rocket fuse expires, so it finds nothing. Fortunately, though, Rebo is able to find some frags, hold on to this site control for now to buy time for the re-rotation to re-pivot here from CDs, and they just can't get the frags to back up the rotation. So Ian left now, waiting for the rotation from the team come in, but again, it's Joba, the backstab, dismantling the plans that Ball State Red had. But what can you do? You can flank the flanker, and just like that, a 2v3 here. The chance is still online, but with KHS dropping Ian, it's going to be all on Casimir, and they know where they're coming from.
I mean, they've already called this thing at least 3 times over. You had the player, the flanker, flanking the flanker. I mean, everybody knows that no matter what your own teammate or the opposition, they're flanking. They're coming from your spawn. You got to keep those heads turned around. And even if you do make a lap around back towards main, they went ahead, took full control of the back side towards that defender spawn side. And they were saying, now, well, we sit at the wall right here, right now. And if they want to push out either any angle, we're going to make sure it's going to be called out. We're not going to take those fights unless we know it. So good reads once again for Texas A&M Maroon, able to go ahead and equalize this game on a pretty quick scale, I'd say, considering they're on the attacking side. They got to get this thing rolling a little bit more though now. Knowing these guns are going to be being purchased up once more, seeing what this anti-eco is going to look like for them is really going to set a pace here. Because we know they can win on rifle v rifle combat, especially when you have a player with a Bulldog who's down. What do they do in a pacing like this? Do they get overzealous? Do they go crazy, just speed this thing up to where they barely have time to negotiate? Or do they slow things down and just take it just as easy as any other round?
And for now, they're kind of forced to take it easy. Joku holding long off with that sky smoke, maintaining that line of scrimmage on Garden. And it's already hesitation on the side of Texas A&M Maroon. As you put it, a re-rotation now coming over to the A site. My only concern here is the position from CDs, right? As soon as that trademark gets triggered on U-Haul, that's when I expect to see them pressure in from that position. But I mean, look at as well the deadlock flank coming in. That's what I'm concerned about here. It's going to be able to pinch CDs here unless the pressure comes in faster from Lincoln. It will, so they get the opportunity. They get the trigger discipline, but only one from the Headhunter. Traded out. Nice barrier mesh to stop the rotations via teleporter, so a lot of time going to be on the side of Tampa Maroon in this post plant. Oh.
Yeah. You got to have a hero play. Somebody's got to settle and go disgusting with it, and an investment in the orbital strike is personally kind of crazy. Going for that, I mean, it's admirable. I mean, you're really going to make this thing worth it. And still, having a follow-up there, having the deadlock, locking up a player.
Nice shot.
The sheriff still would have pushed up. Maybe the guns could get it done here, but in a 1v2 situation, it's only down to Casimir, and he just can't get the job done. So one more round up on the board here from Texas A&M Maroon. A big investment in that last one, but I mean, it always feels like whenever Ball State wants to rip something out here and say, hey, we got an X button, let's go ahead and press it. See if we can really dish things out and kind of balance up the board. Texas A&M says, you know what's funny? We got 1-2, and they always find a way to just buff it out.
But in that situation, right, where you're Ball State Red on an eco round, being able to pull out the annihilation from the deadlock and being able to get it so that they only walk away with 2 rifles is a great way to keep the economy in check for Texas A&M Maroon. And now with this timeout coming in, I'm guessing the Raptors is talking about like, yes, you guys are doing a good job. You got your initial 2, but this is typically where then Texas A&M Maroon goes on a run. I would not be surprised if that 13-2 that I mentioned in the pre-show was in fact the first 2 rounds of the game, and then they shut them out the entire rest of the match. But for now, you know, the deadlock, like we said, I really wanted to see that annihilation in a post-plan situation, but the forward aggressiveness was one way to leverage it.
I think, honestly, I mean, looking at now having a timeout, kind of discussing things pretty early on here, I think it's a good call. I think they have an understanding that Texas A&M Maroon, don't let them get this momentum, don't let it build it. And this is probably going to be one of the only halts you have to work with, quite frankly, because, well, it's the only one you got to work with. You've already let them win these past 3 rounds of rifles over and over and over again. And I think, honestly, it was just more of a discussion to say what worked in that round and how do we make it so darn close with it being an eco? I mean, how do we punish them? How do we really set things up? And I think it was a good time to be making that call and saying, rather than just discussing what isn't working, I think it's nice to keep a little positive attitude here because they're definitely keeping A&M on the ropes, but they're just not really closing out these rounds as they need to. But they're making it pretty darn close where it seems definitely doable.
Ian has to hunker down through the assault of utility into U-Haul. Luckily, they have Rebo in their back pocket here to hold on to this backside control. Nice rotation as well. An ensurement that this is a one-sided affair, and Texas A&M Maroon doesn't want that disadvantage. I like the lurk, though, from Naver, but they don't check the corner. Casimir walks away with the frag. Will now potentially start a flank endeavor that, look, Maroon realizes and is going back to double down on, to double check off of the pings of their teammate.
Slow and steady here for Texas A&M, understanding that once again they have lost that first blood, which is surprisingly, I want to say the ratio isn't just too far one-sided on that so far. Ball State, even on the rounds that they've lost, they've managed to get themselves a lot of first bloods, but Texas A&M is just really good at finding those second bloods when they actually go for the pushes on sites and just overwhelming and making sure it's a one-sided affair. So, I mean, they just got to make sure to really work on these holds, make sure that in a situation like this where, once again, Ian just needs to find that kill. Keep those numbers playing towards the advantage of Ball State Red and one by one dwindle these guys down.
Oh, and I love that rotation, right? They had no indication where the chamber was that entire round. No kind of contact being breached on the B site. But then the instant rotation back to B with barely any time on their side. A 4v2 now, though. Suddenly, with a quick pivot. And it's going to be Oxyfrosty again. Has to deliver. They get the timing. They get the showstopper. They invested for the post-mortem win into the round as KHS walks around like, what did it cost? Everything, but the round is ours.
I mean, well played, though, there. From both sides, at least. I mean, this hole that was going in there from Ball State Red, I understand what they were going for. A singular player already coming there on the flank, looking to get themselves in the position where you're pressuring KHS constantly. Having to check back towards spawn, back towards TP, having to look in literally 2 directions at the same time. And that's a lot to ask of a singular player, but surprisingly, KHS can get the job done. Still holding things down, knocking both sides off, and saying, Frosty, you're on site. You've been demolishing this game so far, so you're to get a second showstopper. This is an easy clear out. And I mean, that's the problem. That guy right there is going to be literally a death sentence for you, because look at it. Once again, already a first blood on the board. zhobiii, we've already highlighted once with an easy 3K earlier on in this game, and I've kind of clotheslined to a certain degree during that first rifle round, once again showing that this is a multi-kill man, that there is a lot of turning gears to this machine, and you got to sit cogs in a lot of them.
Oh, and Casimir, I mean, they've gotten some successful flanks off before, but now they're reinventing the reel, and Maroon knows, right? They know that they grab walled, or sorry, that they barrier mesh to the flank in Link, so the big wraparound checked by the deadlock enables the rest of the team to worry about the CT rotations. And as you put it, that eco round is history because that initial A short aggression was checked. So now the lead even further extended, denying the momentum shift that was desired out of the Ball State Red timeout. I mean, their economy's not getting any better here.
It's most definitely not. It's in that kind of flip-flop situation where every single round you're going to be looking more than likely at going right back to the Sheriffs. And that's why we look at this kind of sentinel differential that we talked about. You can actually rely on your duelist on the side of A&M, so you don't really need to have that chamber because your Raze is doing their job 9 times out of 10. No! This is a combo and a half. Oh my god. What a perfect execution on that net. An orbital strike just mow them down where they literally cannot escape.
I love that combination. And now they get the site control. Now the mesh wall is up as well to provide the perfect pinch, the perfect sandwich for Joba. And they are going to devour that meal if the timing is right. But that window of opportunity actually starting to slip away. No. They catch him at the recall without. They have no idea. And they're just going to be able to stare at them.
Oh, that's awkward.
It's going to cost them all of the frags. And suddenly been chilling left in the 1v3. I don't think the incendiary is going to land before the spike gets halved. So a wonderful opportunity to turn things around. And Ball Stay Red should take the round. Yeah, there the defuse comes.
They're definitely trying for it and can finally get it, thankfully. But all things considered, I mean, knowing that that is a round to just put in the books there for Ball State Red. So we already saw initially 2 players get knocked off on the board. They were in a 3v5 scenario, and we're still able to pull out of the depths of hell for that one. So, I mean, good for them, quite frankly. It shows the resilience of this team and saying that is a round that we can write down no matter what. And even then, worst comes to worst, you say, if we've done this before, we can do it again, especially off the back of an ultimate investment and just winning these gunfights outright over and over again. Hold your angles, play your cards right, and just don't overextend because we know we can win these trades. You just got to make sure not to go crazy with it because if there's anybody crazy in this game, it's still Austin Frosty. You still have to put this guy in his place.
Punching for.
They're even not even really throwing him out first, quite frankly. And that's a good choice to be made by Texas A&M. You got more players. You got 2 controllers, sure, there for the post play, but your deadlock isn't really going to provide just as much if Aussie's just all the way back in spawn, just mowing players down.
You know, Aussie Frosty has been the trade master for this team, and this round is no exception. CDs tries to swap the Headhunter, tries to go for more picks, but their life is stolen away, so now it falls to this Viper Sky combination, and it will deliver. Choku capitalizing off of the snake bites, the vulnerability. Casimir picking up the operator of CDs here to try and keep it moving forward, knowing this is a 2v4, thinking this is winnable, but might just cost them the advantage. KHS able to get the frag, able to collect the spike, and it should be a solid rotation, but they'd rather follow through, which opens the window now for the flank coming in from the Brimstone. And Joba's not going to know they're guarded. There's no way. Yeah, Rebo just gets the frag.
Less than a clue. Oh, once again, another well-played round there from Ball State Red. I mean, this team is showing that, obviously, when the going gets tough, there's not really a problem here on the board. I mean, it's just 5 rounds in a row for Texas A&M, and a lot of teams that go ahead and say this thing's looking kind of chalk. Can't really stress it out too much, but, I mean, already just kind of figuring out that entire formula that we have kind of caught on to, obviously, as casters, but seeing that, obviously, the Aussie Frosty is going to be that trading player. You're going to have that Sentinel swing out first, and it's just a luxury to have that deadlock there for the post plan. Otherwise, you're saying, hey, that duelist isn't really covering. They don't want to throw this man away. They want to give him the utility. They want to give him the kit to go ahead, find these trades, find these easy kills, and get that post plant pressure. So what do? Just find that first kill, and as I mentioned, it comes down to discipline. Back up. Do not let him trade you. Plain and simple. Double down when it gets around to it. And there's a point like this where you talk about aggression and raises. You may not even need to trade them, quite frankly, because when you find 2 off the back of a showstopper, that's a lot of value that's really hard to make up.
I mean, they got the trade, though, and now Joba getting the numbers advantage back into favor of Ball State Red. And they have the Annihilation online, so it gets the post-mortem kill off of the grab net. And that makes it now a 2v1. My concern here is that the players for Texas A&M are so divided that it provides Casimir the opportunity to get the frag. Unfortunately, though, Spike is across the map, headed towards the B site. So with only 2 snake bites to their name and this toxic screen up on the B site, it's going to be a hard clutch scenario with time against them. Luckily, nice CT rotation, so going to maximize a little bit in regards to that disadvantage. But Aussie Frosty, they have other plans.
Well, if you're Aussie Frosty, oh, good. Just checking that. Not overextending with the knife out. I love the discipline, the understanding, and better yet, going ahead and using that timer. Slowing it down, understanding. I got an ultimate here. This is my 3rd here of this half so far, so why not just pop it? Because Frosty, if there's anybody who understands, they're going to get it again, is this guy.
Yeah, and I mean, Aussie Frosty, 17-5 here. And it's going to break the bank here for Ball State Red. I mean, you can already see the repercussions of it. An Ares and a Spectre coming into play. I mean, luckily they have some big ticket ultimates. I mean, the Seekers and the Orbital Strike. I mean, we saw them use the Orbital Strike to kind of reclaim some space to deny that spike plant on the A site. But this round, I hope it's more used to kind of buy time for, I was going to say this A pressure, but it kind of dissipated after Shower's push has found nothing. So instead the response is the Seekers to confirm just how many players here are outside of B long, how many are trying to push up out of Fountain. And look, Rebo, like I said, prepared now with the Orbital Strike, but now nothing drawn on that site.
And just watching these flanks, just slow and steady, looking to see if anybody overextends, and knowing that Ian's going to be on the other side of the map. You know that the Raze is there for the retake. It's going to be a solo venture, probably. We haven't seen too much actual discovery on this B site yet, which sets a large precedent here for the likes of Ball State, because even then, a wraparound and a flank that isn't successful towards main, what do? Take it towards spawn and look for a different avenue of addressing that problem and finding a better solution. Instead of just finding one in an outright fight and giving up that information, why not just find two, both to the back of the head, and force Texas A&M to understand that now you can't even really trust your own spawn. You need to be choosing a site here soon, and you got to go about it really cautiously because you only got two players, neither of which are really expected to be in this scenario too much. Nabber's usually dead first every single round, which is okay because Aussie trades him out. And KHS is your clutch guy, but you don't want to be baiting your deadlock for that because you can't be the one to put the spike down.
Well, that was the issue, though, right? That Jobo was, killed so early in the round that they weren't able to keep tabs on those forward pressuring players like CDs. So with 10 seconds left, that puts KHS in that clutch scenario. A 1v3 unfolding. Nice double swing offered up here, but the frag doesn't follow because they want Rebo to get the backstab. They get the frag, they get the round, and now prospects of a 6-6 half. Pretty strong here. I mean, yes, we've praised how many showstoppers Rockets Aussie Frosty has had this half, but that can't bail them out this round. I mean, the only closest one after that, obviously already online, Viper's Pit, is the Orbital Strike if they want, or the, I guess, technically, the Annihilation to strengthen a post-plant opportunity. But even then, they have to go around the world, farm orbs, farm frags before they can get the plant down. And from what I've seen, Texas A&M Maroons better off on these more decisive all-in site hits of taking space U-Haul, taking space backside A. So it does scare me they're going for this more defaulted approach again.
Yeah, I mean, they're just looking for the trades across the map, expecting that to kind of play out for them. But, I mean, we mentioned it earlier, the trades just right off the get-go. I mean, they find themselves maybe that first death, play as a team, and just immediately answer for it on a different part of the map. And considering it worked, the first time it didn't, I wouldn't understand. You just kind of don't go back to your tried and true. I mean, you have an easy lockdown on your spawn with that deadlock coming into play. You have something there to at least go ahead and kind of create some peace of mind, and then you can definitely kind of just really dedicate yourself to something to see whether something works or whether it doesn't, and not worry about the cutoff, especially when you see this default. One player I can understand, but having two, I mean, you're not over dedicating at that point, but you are kind of leaning towards we're not sure where we're going, so we want to kind of open up our options, when just taking things by force seems like a much better avenue, considering that your top player is that space taker.
Oh, they are going to try and take space here, but CD's in the right place at the right time here yet again. And Ian, with this off-angle position as well, shuts down that high-potential fragger. So the only silver lining here is that they've gotten the Viper's Pit online. But no plan to follow suit just yet because of all the members present for Ball State Red. They're consistently pressuring this as well. Now even the counter Viper's Pit on the B site to ensure no rotation can come through. Spike is down. Pit is down. One of your players, Nabber, only has a sniper rifle in their hands. 10 seconds left. I mean, this looks like a 6-6 half of Ball State Red in the backstab from this duo against the goofy guy. Ian's presence is enough for the flawless tied half.
2 rounds back-to-back where we don't even get to see Texas A&M attempt a spike plant, which is just wild to say in its own right, considering this team's result over the past couple of weeks of what they've accomplished here on this map so far. Like, you got to see that obviously something's shaking them up. They're not noticing that same recipe of success, but Ball State, they have found it. They've been cooking it because, as you can tell, we mentioned those kind of round results of what has happened on this map so far, and they've beat the threshold. They've hit themselves an even half, which is just astounding to look at here as a result, considering of what this team was coming into, the expectations laid out for them, and the roof they have busted and left just glass cutting feet in the meantime, because it's just so good to see that, okay, now they're on the attacking side. That chamber was kind of a good pick for them early on, but how does it really pay off here on the attacking side? It likes what we see out of Texas A&M using their Sentinel as a little bit more of an entry bait.
And, I mean, it's just proving what we said in the pre-show. The stats do not tell the entire story here. Nobody expecting things to already be this close. On a map that we said is a gimme for Tama Maroon in Statistics' eyes. Nice kind of hold here of Showers to start out the round. Grab that paint shell combination as well. Just going to completely murder Ian, the entry player. Choku barely getting out with their life as well, but it is a lot of early utility invested, right? Just to keep Showers control, so it concerns me for the late round game of this half. Or sorry, especially with Bing Chilling being as low as they are.
You got a Sky alive somewhere, right? So they can give you the kills. And even if they don't get the kills, they got the heals. No matter what it may be, they got it all. That's the power of a Sky. But power of a Sky and Choku, it's got to be insane. It's going to be obviously out of this world to go ahead and manage 5 kills, ace this round to find success. But you're seeing Nabra closing things out. And as you mentioned with the big investment, I mean, we have seen that before, though, right? I mean, we've seen that with the Fade and the Raze. We've seen that be adapted to some degree over time. And, I mean, it's kind of worth it, especially if you have a dad like you're saying. Honestly, you can kind of employ these same exact tactics to a certain degree. And better yet, just have it in a Sentinel rather than an Initiator, because obviously Sky feels like a requirement, because what can't that woman do, quite frankly? So just outstanding look here for Texas A&M to start this half off, considering they didn't win themselves the first pistol round, and even then with all the difficulties they were having for the rest of the half, for them to get it this time around is going to be very critical for them, and especially in a round like this, knowing a sheriff's being brought against them, they need to win this thing once more, I would say by more than a margin of 3.
Why is Spike in spawn, though? A big red flag in my mind here, showing that Ball State Red is more going for a frag victory here than an objective kind of time table. But for now, I mean, look at the exchange already about to happen. Belong Rebo forced into a corner. They know they're there, just playing for survival with a snake bite at their feet. 63 HP, luckily bailed out by a Sky Smoke. Tamamur not able to finish the job that they started. And I never realized how long the barrier mesh stays up, because the fact that it's already dropped with still about a minute left on the clock means that space that has to be re-cleared, reconfirmed now by Osty Frosty.
Even then more so, that's just kind of an entire dwindle of time and rotation possibility at this point, where this is the hit right here coming towards the B side. It's a final rotate, because if you don't hear a TP right now, yeah, clock's already ticking, clock's already done. It's going to be a last-ditch effort, and that's just not going to happen considering the weaponry that you're working with. So with these weapons kind of stationary over towards this B site, you got the Viper, you got the Sky, you got plenty of denial, you got plenty of crowd control. Just go ahead and completely sell these players more to where you're at the point now, you're making the call, rotations are coming through. There's nothing they can really do on the Ball State side besides just absolutely mow through the players that are present.
They're on Pernace suddenly. A 5v2, I mean, you said it. You might be up against the clock in a pressure situation like this, but sometimes the pressure cooker makes the perfect meal here. And with that Bulldog collected, Bing Chilling not at full HP, and even Rebo with the Spectre. So a good trade, a good kind of triangle of death. It's a sudden Thrifty pulled out by the hero, you know, deagle shots out of elbow from Casimir.
Well,
we're tied.
Mention the meals. I mean, who doesn't like a good old pressure cooker? But better yet, even then more so, who doesn't like Ian being a good old fryer? You know, able to just go ahead and cook up these players, 3 knockdown back-to-back, completely just taking that site. Not only just a site, but having that little cherry on top of being that nade frag back towards tunnel. You're saying, that's not just the site now, that's an entire half of the map. You only have to tech elbow, and they more than likely weren't there to answer for elbow. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get it in sight for the first place, and it would have been a massive timing on their behalf. That's just unlucky at the end of the day. So to go 1-for-1 though on this half, good God. Ball State genuinely, I think, honestly have a chance, a very good chance to win the economy after a first round loss and a second round one. Completely demolishes A&M.
Yeah. Now they're kind of back to square one in terms of the bye. That second round follow-up denied here. You can already see a little bit of an adjustment, not as aggressive of a take there of Shower. So Ian pretty much uncontested, able to claim this space, and once again that barrier mesh destroyed. So no longer held down. And they want the players, though, to push into them. And Nabber here with the shorty in U-Haul. Casimir, the only one that might brave the threshold, while Spike's actually headed towards B. And KHS was playing for that Bucky contact, but with Trailblazer expended, they're forced to reposition. The cat's out of the bag, and so far it looks like the perfect kind of denial of Ball State from Ball State Red on every play that Tam is trying to make.
A much better answer already available here. I mean, no real players over back towards that TP. You already see 4 players allocated, expecting the timer to kind of go into their favor, knowing that this should be a final B push. But even then, once again, the clock, understanding that this is bind. You can make a rotation within the likes of 7 seconds, and we see Ball State Red not really attempting that fast to rotate, but at least definitely doing it fast enough to say, oh, we can get it on the other side of the map. Once again, forcing you to kind of say, all right, retake the situation once more. What guns you got to work with it? Not very much.
That is true, but this time they at least have numbers online. A full 5-on-5 retake. A lot of utility because of that kind of reserve that they had early into the round. You know, they didn't invest as much minus that barrier mesh and deadlock utility. So, we'll see. But, I mean, for now, they're just being patient. They just all try to die to the spike. Is that actually how this round's going to go? You're kidding. They don't want to donate the ult orbs, but I mean the fights are getting taken by Ball State Red, and it's farming season for Casimir. Joba able to shut them down, but not without, you know, Viper Spit basically getting a free charge up. Expecting to see that here early in the round. The lead claimed by Ball State Red.
Why not? They can't blame them. I mean, considering the Viper Spit early on, they matched the kinds of pressure that you would see from obviously Texas A&M popping showstoppers every 3 rounds. So I don't really sure if you can match that one too much. Considering the Viper Spin is also a heck of a lot more expensive, but still knowing that it makes it that much more important of a round whenever you do actually inevitably end up using that at some point or another. So here, especially in a round like this where you see buys coming through once more, if you can get that thing stacked up, it's going to be just insane, considering you only have 2 orbs that you can acquire around the map, and both of those are going to get you enough to really go ahead and tie that thing up and get yourself a ultimate to work with. And with how we've seen Ball State play this attacking side so far, they're going to use that entire clock to get themselves to a site, and they're going to use some of this utility probably to invest themselves and find the real estate to probably pick that thing up and make sure to have one to work with.
Yeah, I mean, the methodical way that they're dismantling defense here for Ball State Red is no match for frags that KHS is able to wrestle up before denied by their counterpart on the side of Ball State Red. So 4v3, numbers advantage in their favor. No space too much gained on the side of Ball State Red. But I love the trademark over towards A because it allows the CDs to effortlessly support the players here on this B endeavor without worrying about the potential of flank, unless they went all the way through shower, all the way through spawn, which would be a very late round impact. So I'm concerned for this hit specifically because of this adjustment from Tam and Maroon, right? The sonic sensor right outside, likely undestroyable until the exit comes through, but these are dangerous plays, dangerous positions. Nasty Frosty is picked off.
Raise. Nice to some degree, but even then, more so now it's an actual site. But with a very, very quick answer, ready to roll, but even then, not the player allocation or the shots there to answer it. Texas A&M once again kind of on the rear end of this one. The Seekers are going to sniff out exactly where Nabber is. They get an easy swing for Choku. An easy round once more for Ball State Red to get themselves to a 9-round threshold. So, I mean, good for them. But now, not only really have themselves a half of that last one to say, I mean, just equilibrium is more than you could ask for against this team. And the expectations that was meeting them, but now being leading by 2 after going ahead and shutting those guys down in the second round, just capitalizing out the back of it, is just insanity, to say the least.
I mean, I literally just cued Nabber into taking that timeout. And, I mean, I agree, it's definitely needed, right? I mean, you had the prospects of an advantage at the half slip away into a 6-6. You had the prospects of turning it around 4 and 8-6, and you get thriftied. Now the lead being claimed by Ball State Red puts you on the off foot here. I mean, that last round too was a buy-up, so I mean, Ball State Red should be pretty set for double digits here, so I'm excited to see what Texas A&M Maroon decides to change.
I mean, quite frankly, on the defense, you don't have nearly as much control of the map. You do have more than usually kind of given than a lot of players you're expecting to mine, but it's still not obviously as much of the attackers where you can really just kind of go anywhere you want. I haven't seen very much exploration of the map, really forcing Ball State to kind of turn around and check their heads. I mean, Chamber isn't going to be nearly as good as Deadlock in that respect, but I mean, we saw Ball State constantly exploring that spawn, constantly exploring that attacking side of the map. Not only as we saw during this particular round where they went towards main, but they also lapped around towards spawn when main didn't work. I mean, they're making sure these guys are having to check both angles, because by the time that Ball State have rotated in these past 3 rounds, you could have found at least 2-3 free cutoff kills just to at least slow that attempt and say, going forward, we can't really have as much time left on the board to really go for that last-ditch effort.
Yeah, but I mean, this round, right? It's short, but again, that trademark just makes it so difficult. I would love to see like a sky smoke there so that they could go clear showers from behind. Maybe they would catch off, you know, Ian or the rotating Brimstone. But for now, it's just kind of threshold that they want the side of Ball State Red to push into, and I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, all the indicators showing that this is going to be a B exec, and once the guiding light gets no validation, no confirmation, here comes the follow-up utility from the side of Ball State Red. They've cleared out Garden, they've entered into the site, cleared out Cubby as well, and it's going to be Joba again in my eyes that has to deliver here, but Joku's aware, prepared.
Toxin screen down.
Just waiting for any signs of life here, and I mean, neither side is
30
giving it.
seconds left.
When I mean life, obviously, we mean death. We're looking for first bloods. We're looking for blood to be shed. We're looking for players to get knocked down. And even we're looking for opportunities here, quite frankly. It's the same thing that Texas A&M is trying to find right now, and it just really isn't being presented to them. Going right back to that default, you see players just running all over the map, whereas you mentioned that time is dwindling down. It's doable, but quite frankly, you can just create the denial. Make sure to swing those players, throw your life on the line to get some kind of success, but they just don't end up doing it. In 3v2, Texas A&M doesn't really have the weapon advantage, but they got heads. They got players, they got ultimates, and they have space now. With the Guardian in hand, it gets done. And it's a 3K for KHS and an 8th round on the board for A&M to go ahead and retaliate on this circuit they needed so darn much.
Thrifty.
And no, a Thrifty on the board following their timeout is huge. And it really did come off, I would say. Like you mentioned, Navar tried to deny the spike, but the double swing is too clean and acts as the perfect distraction for KHS with that more expensive weapon to completely obliterate any hopes of a post-plant scenario. So 9-8 here, 1 round separating them, and a really heavy investment coming through from Navar in the format operator. But I mean, looking at the agent pool, you're against the agent composition, you're prepped. You're not going to be expecting an operator if you're Ball State Red. So I'm hopeful for this, but then again, look at what CDs has. And a better operator. The Tour de Force already expended here, and I really want to see them fight it out, but it looks like for now, Navar is going to be on the shower angle here as the real exit's going to come through A, where it looks like Ball State Red doesn't want to make the same mistakes that they did last round.
Tour de Force not being the only ultimate invested for a round like this. Showstopper coming through as well. Still have the Viper's Pit, which I feel could be used and is. So just for a round to hit that 10th round threshold, I talked about that checkpoint chokehold. That honestly, Ball State, if they find themselves in, they're going to very much regrettably look back at this round and say, good God, the amount of investment there could have been allocated elsewhere. But we're going to see how this round goes first, because A&M still with 5 players remaining, and a showstopper of their own. They could push to shower control. They could just mow down whatever players get in their way. And with the rocket available to them and a retake coming their way, it all comes down to this right here and how it all starts.
Whew. They do find Casimir, so Pit down, but I mean, they still have the orbital strike to lean for Ball State Red. That's expended here in the 4v2 situation, just trying to buy down the clock since they know frags aren't in their favor. Amazing sky smoke, but it comes seconds late, so Joba can't get on the spike. No players can except for Navar, and even then, the time has ticked away. They're forced to save, they're forced to take the teleporter, and KHS also cannot escape their demise. So an expensive round for both sides in terms of ultimates, in terms of players. You can see now repercussions, both sides having to buy up, and this round could determine the momentum of the rest of the game.
I could say not nearly as expensive for the likes of A&M Maroon, considering the kind of rounds and how it's been so far. Yeah, they don't have much to work with. You're just happy to kind of have results. Make sure that players died in the meantime and have some economy coming your direction. Well, sure, you can't really compensate for it and buy it your own. Obviously, Aussie using that showstopper in the last round, now making a sacrifice. Being chilling, being literally the GOAT for saying, nah, you're frying. Let me give you the Vandal and I'll take the Stinger. That's what this is all about. It's a team effort, because not only that, if you see some push-ups off the back of it and understand that being chilling was going to go for that aggressive push, you don't mind losing that life. But Aussie Frosty, the one you bought the Vandal for, was right there with you. putting their life on the line as well.
Ooh, but the pressure out of showers. Joba finally delivering, but unfortunately the guiding light lands, allowing the refrag from Revo. And while Ian does fall, the paint shell finishes the job, placing Naber in a 1v2 with an operator on line as their only weapon for now. The only saving grace here is that there is the annihilation. So that could be a really good breaking point here. As soon as Spike is tapped, you pop that, you get numbers back into your favor, and it forces now actually out the ball. Come on!
Oh my god!
Forces out the clutch. That's exactly what you use the annihilation for.
Turn a 2v1 into a 1v1, and what do you know? It makes it look doable. But even then, still, the pressure. I mean, more times than not, you're not expecting that player to be freed that fast. You're expecting the operator swing a little bit quicker and able to still get those shots off and create that moment of contention where it's, oh my god, I have to win with a classic. It's another one of those situations where you're saying, thank god there's a right click for a reason.
I was terrified for Naber in that situation, and I can only imagine the calms happening in the Tam Maroon team Discord. I mean, oh my goodness. That, like I said, that was a make or break round in my eyes, because it's either going to be an advancement towards map point or a reset of momentum for Texas A&M Maroon. And that frag, that opening blood, goes as a deeper indication. The perfect grab net combo, and the Sonic Sensor should have put Fate on line, but a 3K with one magazine places Casimir in a 1v4.
Being chilling, so you know what? That's one less button for me to press. I was going to crash for the spray anyways, but do it for me, why don't you? Nice. Another round put on the board here for Texas A&M, and once again, I mean, we look at the kind of the investment being made here. All State Red a couple rounds ago, putting it all on the line just to kind of go ahead and survive by a thread to get that 10th round, and here we are, 2 more later. They have not budged, and we see Texas A&M find themselves in a tie situation with an ultimate to invest in their own now in a point. So, I mean, knowing that already you're now using the one resource that just kind of overarcs the entirety of the game here for a timeout, you got to make it worth it, because ultimates, they go back and forth. They're a one-sided affair, or most definitely can be, but timeouts, that's going to be something that both teams can really take advantage of here, and Texas A&M, I'm sure, just cooking up just as much, waiting for these kinds of game plans to unravel.
Whew, I mean, we're tied here, 10-10. Both rounds, I would say, to get to this point from Tam Maroon, statements. I mean, the clutch from Naber, the insane 3K from the Brim himself that we're looking at, staring down, being chilling. And, I mean, this point, I feel like Ball State Red, haven't really changed anything, right? It's been more, they haven't responded to the changes Tam Maroon was making, which was that forward aggression, you know? The fights that were taken A short initially, and the fight that was taken B long initially with Naber and that operator. Looks like we might see some satchel boosting to get them into an off-angle position. Another unexpected kind of angle from his composition with an operator. So we'll see if that works out for the squad. Nope, they don't land their satchel. Unfortunate. But, I mean, it won't matter, because Ball State Red wants to head back into the belly of the B site. It looks like they're really challenging Hookah this time, recognizing it's more of a weak point. My only concern here is that this time there's no sonic sensors there. That was a big part of denying this entry from Ian. Oh, that's why I would have denied the entry. Just kill him.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, good nonetheless to get it there, especially if you're Joba, but I mean, still, just understanding that you're just kind of choosing to run away, elbow tucking your legs, and saying, we'll kind of give this thing up, and you still get punished. You didn't even see anybody. You saw nothing but the utility. And even then when they killed you, they still didn't even see you. It's just one of those unfortunate circumstances that Ball State's going to have to go ahead and rebound from. But understand that this round wasn't really in their favor anyways, considering with the guns in the most of the hands of these players, you're not really stressing it too much. You're expecting a loss to some degree. You're looking to scratch it by. And a loss of players isn't the end of the world, but it's definitely going to be a little bit dampening to your confidence to understand that Joba can maybe find an ace on a point like that.
Yeah, I mean, Regrow's not going to get them to a healthy, you know, line. There it is, finally. They're like, all right, we'll support your ace endeavor, and we'll deliver upon it. I mean, statement round after statement round by individual players on this squad, and maybe it was just a slow start. Maybe they were warming up, but delivering now, ensuring that their map pick does not slip away from them. And albeit that was an eco round for Ball State Red, so the real fruits of that timeout should be seen in this round, but I'm worried, Nick.
I am as well. I mean, considering that even then we're now seeing what could have been a little bit of a lesson learned. I wasn't sure how I felt about the Viper and Aussie Frosty Joba and those two kind of top players coinciding on the same site. But, I mean, you're at a point in the game now where you can make those investments and make those decisions, considering that you just want to hopefully meet them outright on this A site, and that's just not the bait that they're biting. Knowing that, as we talked about earlier, I mentioned him being those couple 3Ks early on in the game, Joba being that multi-kill man, able to kind of clutch out rounds like that and show that once again, an eco round or even an anti-eco, you find yourself looking at an ace. You want to split these star players up. While sure, they work great in tandem, it's kind of like these all-star basketball teams. Every player can't take a shot, so you got to put them somewhere else so they can all shine in their own respect.
Just say poor Trailblazer, but poor Ian, again, the first blood victim of an operator. And I feel like that's ironic, right? Because you mentioned that Nabber was consistently first blooded last half, but they've definitely righted that wrong, rewritten that outcome in their story. As now a 5v3 unfolds, looks like it's full steam ahead towards map point for Tam Maroon. Nabber again looking for more frags at this operator. CD's trying to pressure up, but even KHS has their back here. A 2v5 now. And the reposition here onto boxes is beautiful as well to punish off the toxic screen when it falls. If Nabber can't beat them to the punch. And look at that contact. I mean, 1-for-1, blow for blow. A flawless way to get to map point.
Not even really worried about the trades going on there, not losing players in the meantime. Great play from KHS, kind of looking for that swing. Bing chilling in the back, just still saying, I mean, a hit was made. That's an easy shot that I can take, at least whether it comes to the body, and even if it's through a wall, we're likely going to kill there in that situation. So Texas A&M looking off the back of a round like that, they have themselves now 2 ultimates to play with, full buys across the board. Ball State trying to figure out what the heck they're going to do, because Choku has money saying, do I go rifle? No armor? That's a little tricky because Casimir over here is running a Spectre with full armor. I can run a Stinger of my own. A little bit of an awkward buy. The Rays, though, has a showstopper. They got their own gun. The problem is they're going to use it. They are, and they're not going to find much of it.
And I was going to say they're going to be first blooded again, but CD spares them that embarrassment. The Annihilation still finishing the job. No way for the teammates to spare them. Aussie Frosty still alive. Aussie Frosty still fragging. And suddenly it is the 1v5 now for Rebo. And I'm not sure if they're the one that destroyed that panel. But for now, they can't aggress here into Shower. Spike in quite literal control of Tam Maroon here. And swarming to the sugary stack. And look at Nabber. I mean, they know. And I think this is it. Yeah. Oh? No, the backstab. Oh, nice frags. Wall drops. Taking another.
All right, let's not do this.
And Tam Maroon, yeah, they're getting a little happy.
I understand. 12-10. But now a 5v1 is a little crazy. Okay. If you lined up, I was saying you deserve to lose.
I was going to cry if they found KHS.
For the comfortability of everybody else in the roster, rather than those duelists and those sentinels, and already with Joba now making the switch off of a controller, now being on that KJ, you can probably see that translation being made where Nabber's now running that Viper. But Frosty and TN now being on the Rays is something that I'm really going to be keeping my eyes on, of whether or not he can meet that same expectation. Ian kind of set for the rest of the team.
I mean, that was something I didn't really get to point out, was that the last time we saw that squad on Bind, it was kind of the same kind of compositions, and I was curious to see if we were going to see the role swap here. But yeah, Ian repping the Omen. I mean, think about it. If Tens can swap from the duelist to the Omen, I'm sure Ian can too. But yeah, I'm trying to think about what they could deliver differently for us here on this role compared to the other players. And I think it is just going to be the fact that we saw them on the chamber. They were very aggressive. They were kind of out fragging in its own right. You know, Casimir got the backstab kind of spotlight, but they got like a lot of those early first bloods. Like I said, that trademark being so important, so they couldn't get reflanked. And we'll see how that translates here on Lotus. But for now, I mean, early pressure out of Ball State Red here on to Mound. It's responded well to by Texas A&M Maroon, saying they want none of that, and they're going to cash in early that kind of lurk play that Nabber was making towards Tree, towards the A site.
Big switch up in positions may not really make a big switch up in terms of results, as we already seen that Ball State, they found themselves the first pistol round of the entire series. They were unbind, and Texas A&M answered pretty instantaneously in that second half. But what it comes down to right now is obviously it's going to matter of who really starts off the map really hitting. And Texas A&M seemingly just going ahead and completely mowing through and meeting that mojo that we were expecting to see unbind to start things off.
Yep, right in the wrong of the first pistol lost of the map for Bind. I feel like a little bit of an unexpected rotation there, maybe. This catch Ball State Red off guard. They're like, oh, it's a pistol. They're not going to overcook that early, but they do just that. And now you're almost going to see the more aggressive buy come out. We almost saw the Phantom from KHS, which honestly I'm not against. I like people either going for this lighter pistol buy, like Joba is, to get that third round Vandal or Phantom on board, or I like that one hero rifle as well. But they're leaning into the first choice here. Once again, starting things out on a C exec. A little bit of team flash to slow down the momentum, allowing Rebo to re-challenge, but punished adequately, limping away with their life. No shield, only 50 HP. Now they got to rely on the rotations that are coming through from the rest of their team in spawn.
Oh, low instead of here, even though with their weapons playing towards the advantage of the attacking side, they don't want to get overzealous, and you really can't give them anything but credit for just kind of playing things out, waiting for your duels to clear that space first. While you're distracted on the flying raids, you go ahead and get domed in the side of the face of the Sheriff. That's to be expected. That's usually what you end up seeing, so no really too much of an actual beat-up going on there. Aussie Frosty pushing up, finding easy frags off the back of the rest of these guys. Texas A&M find themselves already in a 4v2 situation. I say don't overextend here. Just chill out. Make sure to play these rounds, but already in a 1v2 scenario, find yourself with one more player down over and over again. From what I would like to see teams typically have at least 3 players surviving it into the secondary round. You only had 2 left for Texas in this one.
Yeah, able to collect the most expensive weapons, though, namely that Bulldog here. But I agree, not a stronger kind of bonus coming out, but like I said, Joba with that Deagle buy does afford them the hero rifle in this situation, and they have been that pillar for this team time and time again. I mean, yes, they kind of slipped up towards the end of that round, Mick, in terms of letting the 1v1s get taken mainly by being chilling, but before that, right? I mean, the covers that Joba was applying for Aussie Frosty on the entry, then the cover that Bing Chilling was applying to Joba trying to take the fights on rotating door, both were beautifully executed that I have no fear for this squad. Even here as we jump into the third round, I think they have a decent chance of converting.
This team's really had a chance of actually executing onto a site too much. It just comes down to kind of committing to it and what happens kind of leading up to that hit, and even then more kind of what happens at the post plant. I mean, we saw, as you mentioned, the 1v1s, which Bing Chilling was in a 2v1, swinging by himself on the door towards those points where, honestly, when you have the range to a certain degree to play back, and you got to give A&M Maroon kind of the credit where it's due, they're feeling themselves. They're hitting these shots. They got it early on, and they're trying to really just kind of establish, say, look, this is our map. This is where we're supposed to really start stepping things up. But that's just not going to be the case on B. Already having 2 players completely clocked off. We talked about the kind of the trading potential of this team and what they've done everywhere else in the map, but when it happened on Bind, they only lost a singular player. Losing 2 is just completely insane, to say the least. And you can just see the rest of the team follow suit off the back of that. Even then, with a singular purchase of Vandal, one of those players, or at least what I saw kind of an idea of earlier on, they really took a hit off the back of that. But still half armor available. It's doable.
So completely. And I mean, although you lose 1 round, like we said, that's the 3rd round. It's the bonus. It's the one you're expected to lose in terms of the normal economy flow of the game. So now here, I don't want to see too many changes out of Tamu Maroon just yet, because obviously you're throwing yourself through a toxic screen with worse weapons. I mean, Rebo finding the first frag there too was kind of unfortunate. But it's like Ball State Red actually the one wanting to make some changes. 3, almost 4% aggression here on to a main, and it's working, right? Already Aussie Frosty on the off foot here. Luckily, the player filtering in from Rubble will wrestle a frag on to their side. They actually send the players that were there fighting back into Baby Door. So they want to play a little bit further back, realizing that those fights were not going to end in their favor. My eyes suddenly drift to Joba, who could punish this fallback.
Simply could. That is, if we actually see the rotation come through, kind of go right through that door, and even then, if we don't see that AJ just kind of get too far away for that trick not to get to a degree, but already instead of accessing Joba go for rotation, you can see the rest of the team go right through a chokehold, trying to come right through this destructible door. get funneled in onto site. Ian is just mowing them down one by one. Talked about the positioning of what kids could do on an Omen. Well, Ian is living up to that same name, just demolishing anybody who lines up in this guy's crosshairs.
We are already tied here, 2-2 on the board. Shifting things up to be another close map here so far right out the gate. I mean, not only are numbers equated, but Ball State Red has a chance to turn the lead on its head here because Tamo Maroon is on this weaker buy. Bing chilling with the Stinger, the biggest weapon afforded, I would argue, for this team. And they just want to try and force their way into the seaside here. But the read coming out from Ball State Red at the last second is going to place 3 players here in contention for Mount. Nice little one way to allow them to push up a little bit deeper. But the response is a beautiful Paranoia and Dark Cover to allow them to push out, allow them to completely delete the side of Texas A&M Maroon off the map. And even though Jobo wrestles away one with the little cheeky revolving door play, it's still going to be a Ball State Red round.
Have an execute, push W into spawn, and especially doing an anti-eco where you can't really slip through your grass and just saying, let's not sacrifice too many guns here, just meet them. That gamble worked out perfectly for them, met their maker, and better yet, met themselves with the 3rd run on the board. So huge here for Ball State to make sure to kind of get themselves on a round that was very critical, I'd say, considering that they gambled need to work out for them. The economy plays towards their favor just because of how well they played it out, and just kind of obviously the luck of the draw going towards them. But even then more so knowing that they now have a lead in these rounds with a pretty significant margin to know that if things do fall through, they still have a backup purchase if need be.
Yeah, I want to see Tamo Maroon punish this aggressive mound take. Ball State Red having gotten away with it last round, repeating that same effort here. But again, it's just Texas A&M Maroon holding the line here, not quite rotating just yet, but deciding that commitment's going to be better with the re-smoke, the re-dark cover there to maintain that space for Ball State Red. Unfortunately, though, with 3 players there, that's going to weaken the rest of the map. My only concern, though, is that we do see the Viper get found out by the KJ utility on the A site while this exchange, this collapse inward to mound is occurring. And it is just going to be blood for blood here. Joba walks away with the most murders under their belts, most frags here, now placing them in a 4v2 situation. The re-rotation from the Viper is going to be later, so Casimir on an island. KHS trying to punish it too.
Yeah. Waiting on some reinforcements, seeing if they can kind of get a pinch play to go through here, but they're not really going to be pinching anything except, well, the spy. There's a couple players on site, sitting pretty well reserved, looking towards the back. Player back towards mound, player watching spawn, to where, I mean, with 4 players alive, you're covering the entirety of this half of the map, but even then, it still may just be too much. Not enough. It really comes down to the jurisdiction of Ball State and what they can accomplish. Only Casimir alive, with 3 players trying to swing on them. Not much you can do. Joba closing out for a 3K. Hopefully they can get out with their guns. But one thing that's really important is coming out with a lockdown at the other end of that, just because of that 3K alone, setting that pace over and kind of turning the tides to have one more yellow border to work with on top of that showstopper. So now, not do you only have a little bit more aggression to facilitate a site take, you also have a perfect instrument to kind of create the denial and say, look, nothing's really going to happen to it in the meantime. And I think Ball State, while they're happy with having to their own, that Seeker in front of the shadows aren't really going to provide nearly as much.
Yeah, my only concern was kind of where Texas A&M Maroon was going to be able to bring this lockdown. And I was thinking with how far Nabber has been able to get up A main uncontested, that would be the answer. But this round, instead of aggressing mound, we see this side of Ball State Red aggressing here into a main. So that's communicated by Nabber. The execution comes in from Aussie Frosty, forcing the Killjoy off-site, and Casimir walks away with the frag, completely shutting it down. And although the lockdown comes in for the post plant, it's actually the early frags through revolving door that will let things settle down into a 4v3. But I love Nabber here, trying to punish CDs, but they're aware of it. So numbers suddenly having dwindled. KHS feels like they have to commit a hero play, and so far they have.
I like the potential setups that A&M's trying to go for, but once again, it comes down to these hero plays. Everybody just individually performing, and sure, to some degree it works, but I mean, everybody has to wear their own cape, and when it comes down to a singular player, that's when the pressure really gets put on for that single individual. And honestly, I mean, it's a team effort here with everybody looking for their own setup across the entire half of the map. rather than directing that attention to where it's the most critical. That's right there on the spike. So Ball State get themselves a wonderful little retake. Even then, with both those ultimates that we just talked about being invested in that last round, it still ends up being a success for Ball State and just keeping this lead surmounting over and over again in this exchange of 1-for-1.
Yeah, they do lose the Odin in that battle for revolving doors, so keeping the economy on check a little bit after that heavier investment, but regardless, the damage done to Texas Maroon much more drastic. Only the hero rifle for KHS, who last round did deliver a frag to try and bail them out of that situation. I do like the early fight we have here, A main, but Showstopper invested. Something I praise Ball State Ball State Red for is this consistent investment as soon as they become available. They walk away with the numbers advantage, and it's only widened further. 5v2, a flawless on the docket, unless Joba has something to say about it. Can be granted the one-on-one against Casimir. Shot's not landing, only one left in the chamber, and they're just getting bullied over here. KHS, the hero rifle, robs them of the flawless, but not the round. 5-3, the lead grows to 2.
It's a big one there. I mean, it just comes down to taking these one by one, and I got to give credit to Texas A&M for slowing things down and stopping right here, right now. Just knowing that that differential has not really grown at all. They've kept it at least towards 1, whether it be in an advantage or whether it be in a deficit. And finally seeing that grow into 2 now is something you just really can't slip away unnoticed, because you can't let that grow more and more and more. Sure, we're entering the later stages of this first half, but I mean, looking at what's at stake now and looking at the buys available, this could be, say, your last legitimate full buy, depending on what you're really forcing up with the next one, understanding the stakes that are hand for the ones after. So I think going ahead, slowing things down, understanding where their sites have found success, where their kind of post plans have been set up more times than not, and how they really go about executing and holding that. Because I think they spend a lot of time on their post plans because they have great ideas, but it seems like Ball State Red's always ready to kind of answer for it and not really cutting up, but more so just as the preparations going into place, the timing isn't there for Texas A&M to really have this game go perfectly their way.
Completely. And with the timeout coming to an end, we'll see what Texas A&M Maroon has cooking. I mean, they're able to get the momentum back in their favor over on Bind following that timeout to close out the map. So I'm hoping to see a similar effect here to close out the half. Reminder, we ended things 6-6 over on Bind. So now here for Lotus 5-3, you know, Ball State Red about to lock in that tied score line. An interesting buy here from Ball State Red, namely that Outlaw for Choku, but it doesn't stop down the momentum, doesn't stop the A main space getting occupied. I do you see how deep this Killjoy utility is into Waterfall? It's almost expecting that aggression to come in from Tamu Maroon. That has happened from players like KHS and Aussie Frosty, so we'll see if that comes in to a counter later in the round, but for now, I mean, no kind of over-rotations on the part of Ball State Red. The Seeker's going to confirm only 2 players are home. The Sentinel, the Pseudo Sentinel, and a perfect shutdown of Aussie Frosty. The lockdown, the perfect counter as well. Bang Chilling forced to get out of dodge with the Shrouded Step. They counter CDs on the flank. Now, suddenly it's a mad dash to A from Ball State Red to meet them. And they recognize this. I love this. Wait. Go back C. Please clear this corner, though. Please.
Even if there's nobody there.
Clear the corner.
Toxin screen down.
Nobody cleared that first one, which I mean, understandable. They just left the fight.
Thank you.
You never know. Knowing that
30 seconds
those
left.
gone. And all right. Is everybody going to be on site here for the retake? No. Casimir has to understand that with no teammates there, being a Sentinel, usually you don't swing that. But, get up for just wrong. What a coulda, shoulda.
And Joba just punishing these single fights one after another. Choku with the Outlaw, the last remaining. Alarm bomb makes contact. The swing comes out. Choku, though, switches for the Vandal, gets the frag.
Wild.
And it's still going to be 5-4. Once again, like I said, these turnarounds following these timeouts have been so clean for Tamu Maroon.
And even then, I mean, still just finally getting into a post plant where it looks like they're just kind of sitting on site. And while you can't really chalk it up purely just to that, obviously it was played in part by Ball State saying, let's swing in one by one after the fact of into a possible 3-man choke. But, I mean, regardless, seeing the way they kind of held things out, played every single avenue of the map, and work their possibilities. They said we go one place and we try another and maybe double down. We have the option to do that whenever we feel like it, so why not just exercise that right and give it another shot? Because C's been very successful for them just in those initial takes. Their post plant has been what's really sacrificing, so I can't blame them for just trying to hit CNC again and really just nail that thing down and try to make sure that post plant really starts working, because they could just find every round for the rest of the half purely off of that alone.
Yep, but gamble stack from Ball State Red this round on the B site inside of that Viper's pit. It does set up a nice pinch play potential here on the mound for C site, which I think is why we're seeing this rotation, this attempt towards the A site, where they finally counter this A main control from CDs. A nice kind of all in from Ian with the shrouded step into the dark cover. It's kind of being read and expected though here on the side of Tama Maroon, at least temporarily. I mean, counter spray coming there prepared. Choku almost catches Aussie Frosty off guard, but K just has their back, and as we said, it's left to Ian, the hero player, but even they can't deliver, and Casimir follows suit not long after, so we're even here yet again, 5-5.
Go again. It feels like we're almost inevitable for what could be an overtime, but we haven't seen the second half yet. We don't know whether or not Ball State can't really find too much of an attacking half, which obviously with this being their map pick, you're expecting for them to kind of meet. It just really comes down to whether or not, as I mentioned earlier before leading into this game, of whether or not Texas A&M can really find themselves a definitive defensive side. Their attacking worked really well right off the get-go when it came around to being unbind, but it just kind of slowed down. It seems like they ran out of gas a little bit, but we haven't really seen that gas or that speed at all here in this map thus far, because obviously it's not their pick and there's a lot more options. We haven't seen them really kind of pushing the pedal to the metal. We haven't seen their post plants look all that great, but we've still seen relative and shreds of light and success in this so far. We're looking at 5-7. It's not the worst case in the world, but their defense and what we saw on bind is really where they really look to step up. So I think Ball State, they have a chance to really just close this thing out, and I'm happy they're taking a timeout just to kind of double down and make sure that their assumptions and their hunches are warranted, because I think they're just kind of making sure that we have the time given to us. Why not just take it?
So now, as you mentioned, they both start out on, they start out in the defense for both of these maps. They get the frags, they get towards that 6-6 score line, but they want to avoid it. They want to lock down that lead before the sides swap, which they can deny that for Texas A&M Maroon on a definitively attack-sided map. When you have the same composition, it would be huge, but I don't really see too much of a change this round, other than them trying to fake this A main space take and then rotating, you know, the Rays all the way over to the C site earlier rather than later, right? I feel like we've seen the Rays push up and anchor one of these short positions, but now they're here to reinforce the Casimir hold. They have some more utility, but the paranoia is going to take them out of the game pretty early on. Being chilling, aggressive off-angle position, guiding light late, but the frag still follows, and Casimir also to be dropped into the grave prematurely. So a 5v3 retake now for Ball State Red. Again, this forward positioning, again, that I love to see from Tama Maroon. I mean, the snake bite to deny, the flood back in to outpace the repositions of the post plant. And we'll see what they can do when they have a flanker as well in Rebo. Ooh.
I'm not worried about it, honestly. Especially with some damage done, player in the back. And two guys going to pressure him. I'm surprised they're even going for that, quite frankly. I mean, all 5 players that were just set up on site, they chilling. I mean, looking at this discipline now, that's just kind of been a new awakening for them, understanding that overextending into these spawns isn't going to work against this team. Finding yourself these weird kind of lap arounds that go right back towards spawn, they're probably already beating you to the cut. They're probably going to be in your spawn, so you really can't overextend anymore and leave the comfort of what that spike could be. So everybody just kind of playing together in unison, working off each other, and just waiting for trades to come underway if the moment really warrants it. Because they just kind of waited that out, played it nice and easy, and just said, look, just work around this objective. It creates a flawless experience.
So they've solidified at least a tied half. They're going to use this round to work towards a lead. The Showstopper, a great tool for that. But on the other side of things, I mean, you're 2 off from the Seeker, 3 off from your own Showstopper here for the side of Ball State Red, and it looks like you're about to get your request for an A-main duel answered by Aussie Frost in the form of the Showstopper. Guiding Light lands, so Bing chilling good for the frag, but they're smelling blood. They're overheating a little bit. Past the toxic screen, they're dropped. Aussie Frosty at least is good for the trade, but Reboot Good challenge, good grasp on this toxic screen, but KHS
Yeah,
is
no.
better. So a 4v2 before Spike even gets planted, Mick.
Poison's off.
Shots being made through a Viper
no.
wall. 2 players there.
Last player standing.
Guardian can't spray
Could've
out
been
players.
huge.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta nail this thing. So, I mean, with the exchange ready to roll, you're not looking for 1, you're looking for 2, you're looking for back-to-back shot. A&M now looking for this C site. Not really sure what they can do in a situation like this. I mean, Ball State is nothing but to the omen, a 7-5 scenario where, honestly, Ball State went ahead and took that timeout to kind of guarantee, or at least try to warrant some success in this half. They just really bit the dust and gave nothing but time to Texas A&M to figure out how to do that much better.
Switching sides.
Yeah, and although we thought Ball State Red was going to have a similar turnaround following their timeout, it's a 4-round streak from Texas A&M Maroon to lock down this 7-5 lead before the sides swap. And this is the pistol that, you know, Texas A&M Maroon did win over on Bind, was that defensive one. So they're going to look to repeat that here. My question is, are they going to get that counter thrifty again? You know, you remember that when we evened up on 7-7? They need to make sure they deny that this go around, albeit it's not a 6-6 half, so it won't have as big of an impact, but that's what my eyes are going to be on.
I mean, still being a 6-8, I mean, it's not even really just about the score differential. I mean, a 1-1 tie is nice, but it's the fact that the economy is destroyed because you're forcing up. And it's just,
Poison orb.
not only are those guns now handed over, but it's also just the fact that that money is no longer available to you. And even then on the defense is where it sucks even more because you don't have spike plant possibilities to kind of compensate for that over the course of these rounds. You're not getting these small little increments to add up as pocket change and inevitably end up in surmounting to become a purchase. So that's why this defense is going to be so important for Texas because they don't have as much insurance.
Yeah, and they're playing a lot more divided than Texas A&M Maroon did. Typically only had 1 lurk player in the form of Naber, and this round, right, you had 3 C, 2 B main, so the goal for that was to get this group up, exec onto the B site later into the round, but so much utility exchange that we see 2 players for both sides, really low HP for this initial re-fight in. Nice paranoia to pave the way so far, and the kill feed is lighting up in favor of Tamu. Maroon, we might see some snakebite lineup action here, but it's going to be late. It's being stuck all the way. Rebo realizing it has to push up. They didn't stick it all the way because they were low, but frag follows. They wait for it to expire. Just like that, the pistol taken by the defenders.
I was waiting for one to come down from the skylight.
Yeah.
That's kind of me.
Everyone did. Why else would they have gotten off?
It's like, maybe it's re-entering orbit at this point. Maybe it was just a shot straight up. Who knows? But unfortunately, we didn't see any of it. And you get to the point where, oh my god, I got to go face check this. But still, in a round where Ball State didn't really expect to get too much there. Regardless, getting the spike down, finding yourself a little bit of extra money, you're kind of happy with the result. The problem is, not happy with the case of, you just have nothing to work with here. So, I mean, sitting at 8-5, obviously, Texas A&M, so they get to force things up. They get all that money to work with now, and they find themselves what should be kind of a roll through to a certain degree. Because if they can win 3-0 at the end of that first round, you should expect the same exact thing in the second.
Well, similar buy coming out here that we saw from the attack half of Tamu Maroon. KHS able to tuck away on a corner unchecked, so first blood rob expanded upon. They don't even need the more expensive weapons. KHS already happy with their 2 spray and all. Aussie Frosty now asked to deliver upon taking out the lurk player here. So far, they don't want to over-aggress. They don't want to donate this weapon to the opposing side, so I like this decision, especially when now the rest of the team starting to rotate over. Being chilling with this Jiggle Peak should get an early indicator. And this is the goal. They spot 2 players out. Hopefully that would inform an additional rotation, but when they have Naber that close in link, they don't really need to. And they're going to be able to catch off the Killjoy as well here. Oh, that was close.
It's with the devil.
Toxins going up. Careful.
Still, every single second ticking, though, is just,
I have the spike.
especially capitalize on top of another player dead. Just diminishing returns here for Ball State. You really get much, and especially with that spike all the way back in A control, you can't even find a plan in a round like this. So, I mean, that's the most important thing is, I mean, if you can get at least a plant in these kinds of rounds, that's an extra 300 that, I mean, everybody's working with. Just kind of spread out somewhere. But if you can't find in the first place is a little unfortunate.
An op? Okay, I was
Yeah.
about to say KHS. You've got to be memeing there. I mean, if we saw a glass cannon operator from KHS during this third round of the half, that would have been one way to throw away your bonus
You're
conversion
getting
here.
screamed at.
In your econ, yeah, when you're hoping, right? You get this point on the board. I mean, this is very similar to what they had last half, even though 4 players survived instead of 2 because of that lighter investment they had initially. But we'll see if it favors them on the defense, especially when Spike's headed towards the A site where the Killjoy utility is. So we'll see.
We got feasible weapons though. Good util set up. Coming over into the Eye of Tiger, which is going to be A. Got the KJ set up. They create enough denial to kind of like stall things. So that more so it comes down to the read of what this KJ and Viper can do. Can they create enough of a stall? Can they get enough of a read? With Aussie Frosty already pushing up towards that C with KHP, I mean, you're understanding that they're either restrained to B and A now. There is no real other options for them besides that door and the Casimir, and they're not going to be lapping back towards spawn. So...
Oh?
This is looking feasible here for Texas because they kind of got them right where they want them. Not the best guns, but you don't really have to work with range.
Well, they're giving you a gun. CD's able to offer one up, but more of a bait here. Nice paranoia, although it catches their teammate.
Damage.
Ian's like, I'll just get the frag without you, don't fret. But in the meantime, that fight has given up control over the site. It's allowed Austie Frosty to get up on to the spike while KHS is holding things down. An aggressive from Casimir might just bail them out, and it does, as Ian, with only 15 HP, bloodied and battled, walks away with the 6th round. But Mick, that's only 1 rifle when you had 5 going into that. So if you lose this round, you're back to an eco, and it's double digits for Tampa Maroon.
Yeah, even though it's a round that you win, it's not really a round that you're happy about. And it's not just the 1 rifle, it's the fact that it gets there in the first place. I mean, look at how scratchy and how sketchy that round was, just specifically for Ball State Red, especially when they barely found that B plant in the first place. That was not going to be their mainstay. That was not their first idea. It was very much a backup, and even then still just kind of scratching it by. It's a little awkward for them. So with now better guns, as you mentioned, already on the side of Texas A&M, really making a move for themselves in that last one with the guns they already had to work with. It really comes down to these hero plays, and maybe that Guardian in CD's hands can really kind of just turn things up. Especially on that first blood, you can just capitalize off of it. But still, a lot of gunfights taking place towards the A main. Comes down to the real lurks and the other players that are scattered about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see much coming out of the Viper lurk on C side because of all that Killjoy utility. I could see Casimir making an impact here if they get past the Viper, but the early rotation over to the C side, because all that utility has been destroyed, means they're going to have at least 3 players here for Tampa Maroon to contest, and with the numbers disadvantage, that is important here. My concern is this really late lurk coming out from Casimir. It's going to keep Sky on the A side. It's even going to have the Rays debating if they want to re-rotate or not. But Joba has a moment.
Yeah.
All right.
Cut it down. Problem is, Shadow Step allows you to just kind of bypass all of those snake bites. And if it's Ian, that kind of duelist that we saw in that last map, now being in the shoes to where you don't have to rush through stuff, you can just TP past it. You don't have any debuff slowing you down, and you can find yourself some free shots. Not really, essentially completely free, because even though having a headshot, KHS only need to tap the guy's toes to find the kill. But Choku being the last one standing, 1v1, Sky v Sky.
Oh.
Man, he does a choke. Wins it instead.
They had the read there too that they were wrapping around later into the round after getting the spike down. I mean, in my eyes, KHS should have been dead from Ian in the first place, not clearing out the angles in the correct order, but regardless, that frag does get Seekers online now for this round. Now only 2 rounds separating this squad. I'm curious to see, if Tampa Maroon will take a timeout. Obviously not going to happen at this round, but probably when we get to 9-9 would be my guess. But we'll see when it's just the squad, when it's just the IGL cooking up the eco strats. 5 Deagles in the wind and an A aggressive front to 4 players coming through the frags. The Guardian shot's not landing, so the Deagles serving up 2 frags, scaring Ball State Red away into a BC split. They're gonna send that kind of...
Honestly.
Why is Casimir so fearless just running through this B site?
Casimir is wild for this, but still, I mean, massive denial coming through. Joba having all that utility over towards the C site, not really messing with it too much. Casimir being called out now makes it a pretty easy rotate there through Waterfall to at least kind of cut off, but the timing just wasn't there. In a 3v3 where A&M were able to go ahead and pick up those guns And Joba still clears at least one? This is basically an even round no matter what, and you are getting pinched, you understand, not only from the likes of back on the defender spawn, but a singular player at door could just go ahead and mow over to everybody else in the back end.
And suddenly it's a 1v2. Time still on their side, and Naber with the backstab, they knew they were there, but still could not address it. And that is going to be a thrifty round to get Tam and Maroon back on track to get them to double digits. And I mean, I think it comes out of the deagle shots from Joba more than anything.
I mean, just insane plays nonetheless there from Texas A&M. I mean, you've seen these kind of aggressive plays every single round, and it's kind of ignorance is bliss there for Texas A&M in a round like that, where you're saying we don't care what the purchase is going to look like. We know they're going to meet us in A site every single time down that lane, whether or not they want to push that site. They want to go ahead and kind of push us off a little bit, not give us that leeway to really fight us back in spawn or take that control of the map. And Texas A&M said, well, if there's any round where we're going to start shooting straight, this should be the one. Just at least buy up a sheriff, win that fight, and then the majority of your team has rifles right off the gate.
I mean, 4 ultimates to work with, already 2 of them being invested inside of Ball State Red. Ian from the shadows into a beautiful position, but it gets traded out. Regardless of the C site opened up by that exchange, further solidified by the lockdown. I wish they had saved that for the post plant instead to buy more time. That just gives Tam and Maroon the time to set up for this flood retake style. I'm guessing we're going to see the investment of their own showstopper here. CD is an aggressive waterfall position to try and contest that fight. The gamble's towards the wrong side, but so is the showstopper investment. Now a backstab opportunity that they deliver upon, but Bing Chilling could just get the job done. Quick to clear out all these angles, but they slipped through the cracks. Rebo so low, so is the Sky. They've got it to half. They have to get off, but too many angles to clear. And Choku keeps the Ball State Red dream alive.
So close, back and forth, but regardless, I mean, Ball State Red, as you mentioned, I mean, a round like that, you quite frankly have to win, just because of how much you put into it. I mean, Texas A&M, sure, using a showstopper retaliation, but that was just an answer for a problem that didn't really exist for them, and just kind of a throw out there into the wind to say, hey, why not just give it your shot? But knowing that you have a lockdown of your own now, that you have a Viper split as well, I mean, you've got denial, you got time to work with, and, well, that's just because you don't really have guns, but on the side of Ball State, you get 2 more rounds to go ahead and overcome in the meantime. I mean, just look at these 2 teams and what they're playing at. Sure, the difference of score is 2 apart, and it was the same exact thing leading into the beginning of the half, but keep in mind, I mean, in these late stages of the game, these 2 teams, they kind of dwindle down, dwindle each other to a point where they're kind of both playing vanilla, but, I mean, aggression could be the name of the game. It could be a little bit of switch up. Don't bring it towards the A side, bring it towards C and see what successes you find, and while sure it takes a couple trades, Texas A&M still come out on top just because they didn't invest as much.
Yeah, that was a late paranoia too coming out from Ian, so cost him, like you said, that numbers advantage. But it does feel like Texas A&M Maroon getting a little antsy here as the rounds tick away. And I mean, this is just a further example of that. Not prepared for the lurk up from Rebo. Bing Chilling though in a really good position here with the classic. They can get the job done. A 2v1 now. Casimir not on the site, so it gives Aussie Frosty time to reposition. It gives Bing Chilling time to try and get onto the spike, but Paranoia doesn't land. Aussie Frosty regardless going for the trade, and they secure their 11th once the swarm grenade expires.
That's like what, the 3rd thrifty round in this map alone for Texas A&M?
They had a few rifles. I think they had 2.
Yeah.
I agree. Still a Nico.
It's just those 2 players that are really making it, and even in a kill with the classic, I mean, the free gun.
that was clean.
You're buffing it out. You're definitely looking for the average. You're looking for the mean, and it's wild to see what this team has accomplished. It just kind of with the odds against them over and over again. I mean, when you look at the rounds when they had the sheriffs, they say we're going to completely throw curveballs out there, and just the kind of not only the grit to go for these kinds of plays, but better yet, just their confidence in themselves to make sure it actually works. Because sure, you got to go for those plays, but you got to make sure they pan out. And for Texas A&M, as I mentioned, that double-digit checkpoint chokehold that we see so many teams run into, that Ball State met there for a little bit on that last map of buying, A&M just kind of cross a flying color.
No, a very, very well, like you said, placed thrifty round coming out from Tam and Maroon. I mean, especially when Ball State Red feels like they're consistently making adjustments on the fly. And it looked like they had handled that aggression well, as we mentioned. I mean, they won 2 fights, but then again, just late to some of this joint utility usage. Late paranoia, for example, from Ian, means that numbers advantage goes in favor of the side of Tam and Maroon, and numbers advantage on those retakes is the name of the game for Tam and Maroon's side, and they've been playing it beautifully here. So with eco round now having to come through for Ball State Red, we're going to see an early kind of I guess dive into what they're hoping to achieve from that timeout. But even then, I mean, they have a Viper's Pit and a lockdown, so they can go pretty much where they want to on the side of Tamu Maroon here. And because that, it's just be a full A hit. And KHS, realizing this, is going to respect it, not going to give any additional weapons over. So we're going to see, I think, for the first time in a while, a 5-on-5 retake.
You got a lockdown to facilitate this as well. Just wait for the full team to show up. And, I mean, I can completely understand if they just want to take it slow, not really go crazy here, and then just say, this is going to flush everybody out of that ultimate, out of that Viper's Pit. Give us the space necessary to just kind of go ahead and go ballistic here. But Nabber could find himself in an awkward situation, dropping that, but find that initial kill, you say, all right, this one should be as good as done.
Yeah, I like the Viper's Pit investment here, but then again, Inchplay coming out, they don't clear the toxic screen. So Choco in a great position to punish, and suddenly they're the players getting pinched unless Jova has a way to dismantle it. And suddenly a 1v2. Time, the only thing not in their favor. They're forced to save, forced to get the exit frag onto Rebo. They get the job done, they get out with their weapons, and regardless, it's still a thrifty clutch for Rebo. Get the 9th on the board.
Getting it done, finding the space, finding the extra round, but a very, very costly one to some degree. I mean, sure, they didn't have the full investment. They got whatever they could to make sure they had to buy for the next, but I mean, they're still kind of scratching up with at least that one Guardian, half armor across the board. But you're thankful for the circumstances, knowing that, well, the majority of Texas A&M, even though they also bought up on a round like that, they can't follow it up. So even then, making sure that lockdown was invested. I mean, we saw the Vipers pit towards the B, which I thought to be crazy from the start. But, I mean, each team has their own way of playing that out, whether it be early and aggressive, or whether it kind of be more reactionary. But knowing the lockdown even then, going for that hero play, just throwing your life on the line to shut that thing down was a critical play that had to be made. Otherwise, that round was literally dead.
Yeah, I was curious of this judge buy coming out from CDs, but if they're going to take it to a site like the B Execute, where there are all of these choke points on a retake attempt, I'm excited to see how it unfolds for the retake for Tam and Maroon, especially when nobody is holding down this site. KH's not even aware. They're just going to go all the way to C. They slip through the cracks. I mean, even look at the open. They're just positioned waterfall. They were just chilling it up. And they don't even get to survive. So, first blood in Texas A&M Maroon today. But they don't follow through on the C rotation. They re-challenge B. And because Ian was still B main, they don't lose control of or sights of KHS. Rebo as well, dealing with the extremity of Nabber. And this round has just been played to a faultless T. A 2v5 now. I'm not gonna lie, Tam and Maroon, they can consider a save now.
I'm definitely with you. You just kind of sit back on this one. They had your number, slipped through the cracks, and you gave it up, and now you got to pay the price for it. And you've already paid enough of a price for a couple players dropping the guns that could already manage in the first place. But now looking at Joe being the last one standing, that's not a 1v5 you're winning, but it's a 1v5 you're challenging. And take your life in the process for. Maybe saving up for another lockdown, trying to see if you can manage that before the game's over with these last couple rounds remaining, but still, I mean, looking at what's available on the board so far, Texas A&M, I think they're just trying to scratch for anything, because with the utility kind of playing more towards the end of Ball State Red, that one lockdown that we saw during that 50 round for Ball State Red, I mean, that was literally make or break. That didn't just dictate the game of a guaranteed match for Texas A&M to a certain degree, but Ball State Red, it was enough to say that thing is so expensive that we're not probably going to see it again.
Yeah, going back to basics, taking that A main space. Luckily, this round doesn't seem like Tam and Maroon had the same prerogative. Instead, it's going to be an earlier rotation than standard away from that C site to kind of reinforce the A hold on top of that Killjoy utility. And, I mean, I do like it. I feel like the last round specifically, Ball State Red hasn't had much rotation. I mean, yes, they had that kind of push up through C-Link that wasn't expected, but they still ended on the original B site that they aggress. Even here, right? They feign the B rotation, are re-hitting A, which Nava realizes and is able to punish. They haven't even cleared out tree where Joba is currently just chilling. So D needs to kind of feign some aggression. KHS actually overextends. They didn't need to fight that. And that's now the showstopper for Ball State Red.
Another point already. The From the Shadows invested by Texas A&M as well to kind of go ahead and go back into a retreat where once again they were sitting on that crate where none of those players had checked. Quite frankly, Bing Chilling stayed there, you get a free 3K minimum. Like it is wild. I mean, even then, you're not really hiding in that spot too much or taking the risk of your life to say, do I want to try this?
That's early.
The thing you don't want to try is obviously testing and challenging a showstopper.
Showstopper already expended here.
So
Nobody
wild.
Really home.
You should run. Placing sentry.
Wow. They really want this tie game. I can't blame them. But still, Chals are here. Texas A&M is knocking on the door. And while they can't exactly bust it down with that lockdown available to them and already going ahead and going off, you have more than enough space being allowed to you to at least kind of go ahead and actually go for this attempt and go for this take on site, take up space, and better get this 2v2 that could go into your direction. If you check up top, Bing Chilling, knowing the crates is a very contested area for these Omen mains, but you got to get this thing to at least a half.
Get it to
You're going
half.
to even have a shot on this. Go ahead, get up for a second.
Don't do
the
it.
stick is going through, but still it's not going to be enough. You can't find the swing or the kill. That is a disappointing result for Texas A&M, but Ball State Red, knowing the investment around like that, these make it or break it rounds are literally the spot for them to excel.
Ooh, I don't even know if they stuck it, if they would have gotten through that round, to be honest. I mean, Casimir's so good on the timing. I guess they didn't really get off until like a millisecond after the swing had occurred, but they might have been good for the reswing following suit. Regardless, though, it does finally feel like Texas A&M Maroon might be starting to sweat. I mean, we're tied here yet again. Can't really time out just yet. I mean, you don't want to take this to overtime, I'm sure, if you're Texas Maroon, but might not have much of a choice here. I mean, they look kind of fragmented in my mind. I mean, I don't even know if the Killjoy turret's still in range at this point. They might just be on the very edge of it, for example. I mean, B-side deserted, Omen on the island here, C, and now Joba taken care of by Rebo, the lurker. So look at this, a play, and Rebo's just farming frags, and they have the support of their team here, right outside of main. Backstab from CD's tried to keep in check with the paint shell. They don't clear out the corner, but Nabber can't grab the frags.
Back and forth, and even then going for the investment of the showstopper around like this, it's just wild to think that these players are getting so desperate just to scratch these rounds back up and try to manage something that, even with the success and maybe finding a kill off the back of that, you can't really find too much. And it all comes out of Bing Chilling, who he did walk over a Guardian, so thank you for equipping that, at least. 1v3, you're asking a lot of this Omen once again to just kind of play this out. Last one standing. Had a difficult time to get to this point. Really rotate across the map simultaneously. And can't swing into 3 players and expect them to win that. So, I'll stay red. Once again, winning another round, and when they found themselves in a 2-point deficit at the end of that last half, they found themselves at least in a 1-point lead, and most important, looking at map point.
Yeah, so the last opportunity for Tam and Maroon to get that much needed point that they've been sitting on for 4 rounds in a row now. And that wouldn't even close the game out. That would just send us to overtime. And I mean, Tam and Maroon, they look like they just want to go all in towards the A site. So we might have a full-on war to end this map here from the shadows. Invested to put them in the middle of the fight here. Put them on a double-fronted war that they are winning a 5v3. It looks like they don't want to go to overtime, and Ian catching KHS off guard is the further validation needed. I mean, look at how low Bing Chilling is, and 8 HP. Nabber taking care of on the rope of all things.
Spike planted.
5v1 for Bing Chilling, 8 HP. It's just send us a map 3, send us ice block, why don't you? And there it is, CD does it. 13-11, they win their respective.
Where windows and timing and rotation, manipulation of the map means a heck of a lot more.
Well, we're going into the agent selection, and we actually have a change on the side of Ball State. Instead of that Jet that I was expecting that we're used to seeing, and not the double sentinel either, they actually are going to succumb to the double controller and pull out the Reyna. So we're going to be seeing a shift from the old meta to the new meta out of Ball State Red. And my only concern here, Mick, is that sometimes it does take taking time to adjust to a new composition. So I'm hoping they're not reinventing what was working for them a bit too soon in a matchup that has been as close as it has against Texas A&M Maroon. But only time will tell, and with the players that we've seen fragging at the caliber that they are, specifically CDs, this Marina pick could propel them into the win that they need.
It really comes down to whether or not we actually see CDs like kind of be that impact player. We saw it to a certain degree on Lotus. I wouldn't say it was the end-all, be-all. It was
True.
kind of just thankful though to at least say that it was a team effort. But problem is with this Reyna feels very much feast or famine. I mean, she's going to be pushing up. She doesn't have nearly as much kind of like real estate pressure as the likes of somebody else, which allows her to set up more so with those leaders to kind of play as more of a global blind for everybody else on your team to be finding those frags, but you're sacrificing the fact that you're usually not swinging off those as much. And it's one of those kind of give or take. And as we mentioned, just kind of right back to that feast or famine lifestyle. I don't know how that's going to fare on defense. I love seeing the Reynas kind of play close and aggressive on those A sites and just dismissing and get right back to their team. No scratches whatsoever. But even then, I mean, you got to make sure that you're almost playing like an operator, just a little more aggressive at that point. Which I think Ball State for them and the way they've been playing this game haven't really been all that aggressive on the defensive end. But to their credit, they've been really good on those first bloods.
No, completely. And I mean, I do want to point out here, and we kind of glossed over it, the sheer impact that Casimir had on map 2 compared to map 1 when they swapped from that Viper over to this Killjoy. So I'm expecting big things from them on this map. I mean, just the lurk potential there in mid specifically. And I feel like Ian, being on the Viper, you typically see the Viper lurk as well. But I feel like Ian hasn't been that lurk player as much as Casimir has. So it'll be interesting to see when they're taking more fights as a Viper instead of staying alive and being that kind of win condition later into the round. But then again, maybe that's a shift we're going to see as well come out of them, is that it's a side we haven't seen that they might lean further into. Regardless, though, it is going to mean that they have to try new things and see what works for them with this adapted composition versus it's a composition that Tama Maroon has played throughout the season and is used to.
I think honestly, Ian being that last resort, being as being a Viper instead, rather than the Omen. The Omen kind of makes sense. As you mentioned, we've seen Tens make that exchange from a Duelist over to an Omen. So, I mean, obviously you can put these Friars on those respective agents. But on a Viper, though, it's a little bit different. You don't have as much accessibility. I mean, Omen kind of plays like an Initiator. Has the Paranoia. As a Shadow Steps, you can kind of clear that gap, just as like you see with the Jet. And can kind of set himself up and really play that role and instead just kind of be pretty selfish so long as you're shooting right. But something like a Viper, you really have to play your life. And as you said, start to lurk around the map. With the way that Ian's been shooting, quite frankly, I mean, that guy has been your last resort. And the reason we don't really shout his name too much is because you know he can hit the shot. He just doesn't want to put his life on the line for it.
That is true, and Asti Frosty, originally playing towards box, can't put his life on the line either. Forced to fall back here. The deeper site control that CDs is going to strip away. A miscommunication as well. Almost robs Asti Frosty of their life. 10 HP left to their name. Not much ground to contest, especially when Ian is prepared to act in Nest. But KHS with this Deagle has been the defining element here, denying the site, forcing the rotation now to come out. But as the dust settles, it's a 2v2, barely favoring Texas A&M with how low HP Rebo is. Why do they? I don't like the split up. Why are you splitting up? That's scary, Tamu.
And even then, I mean, if you're playing for audibles, it makes sense. And it looks like that's what they're going for. Being chilling, I couldn't blame them to kind of play it slow and.
All right, split up all you want.
You hear the plant, you know you got one, and especially when the other one's just sticking it. Can't blame you.
Very well played. I mean, it looked like you saw a Casimir a little bit confused in that regard, but
yeah.
Regardless, the round comes online for Texas A&M Maroon. We see the buy-up now coming through, and this is one of the maps that we see more outlaw action than any others after this weapon has been introduced. So I'm excited to see what Asti Frosty can bring to the table, especially with when it looks like they're going to be holding this aggressive off-angle position on A. But unfortunately, it does look like we're going to be asking more of Bing Chilling over here at B main. The only player here does have the hero rifle of the Phantom, hopefully to act as a stronger anchor point, stronger pillar. But with 5 people on the way, guided by CDs, I am still a little bit nervous for what they're going to be able to wrestle away with. And instead, they take the safe route. Oh. Oh no. Okay, good. No trades. Poison Cloud helping them out, and the perfect distraction for Joba from Ness as well. So numbers dropping like flies here. I mean, each member that swings gets a frag, but Joba,
Oh my god!
I mean, that was a Phantom down on the ground. Luckily not collected because of Joba. But even then, they lose 2 weapons they should not have lost.
Even then, it's 2 very expensive guns. Those are Guardians. Those are basically just slower Vandals. It's just like, it's wild to think that those are the 2 guns that are dropped in the meantime, to where obviously I would rather have 2 players with Guardians than a singular player with a Vandal every day of the week. Just knowing what that gun's capable of. It just hurts to see that A&M had dropped both of those going forward, but a Sheriff can be just as powerful so long as you actually have the range to back it up. And you look at this push coming through that seems like it's going to be facilitated somewhat towards this A side of the map. This is the site where you see that range probably favoring Sheriff so long as you hit those shots, so where they also act as a Vandal in their own right.
Yeah, so now, Outlaw, I'm glad they kept that over the Guardian here. Like we said, it's going to be a pivotal part of this defense for Frosty. But their opportunity to take these shots given away a little bit here by the conflicting high tides. Kind of puts Casimir in an interesting position here on pipes, but not a position they're willing to capitalize on because they don't have somebody to trade them out. In the meantime, again, we're going to be eyes on Bing Chilling here. Asked to hold on to this site. The difference being the Reckoning, so a full dip into mid required. Under Fury really early from KHS, denies some space. It grabs the frag onto Choku, but at the same exact time, Casimir returns the favor. Bing Chilling! Yes, the Phantom may not be favored in the long range, but you get the frag done, you get the numbers advantage. To be a 4-on-3 retake. My concern is how far forward CDs is, but KHS? Okay.
What a round from Texas so far. Still so many players alive. Barely really making an investment. Able to carry on those guns in the last round and still just capitalizing with the guns they got so far. I mean, in the 4v2 situation, you had the Jet still going back to the rotation. Everybody kind of worried about Casimir there for a second, but now actually sitting on the side, you can still find yourself very doable to defend yourself. It's not enough. Joba being that multi-kill man once again, doubling down, finding 2, closing out the round and securing a 3rd here for Texas A&M to start themselves off very heavy. This is the first 3-0 we've seen, all things considered. So this is finally a change of pace, but definitely one that we are expecting Texas A&M to kind of open up a step.
And it's so interesting that it came out of the usage of a trade of ultimates, right? The Reckoning for the side of Ball State Red and the Hunters for the side of Texas A&M Maroon. But it ultimately was just Joba delivering there. When the numbers advantage was in favor of Ball State Red, they go big on the wrap around yellow. They grab the frags they need. Now they keep the rifles and the money flowing strong. Versus the side of Ball State Red, you're going to have to pull out the Thrifty, 2 Marshals, and the rest repping the Deagle Demons here. We'll see what they can do, because I mean, I feel like they're just throwing themselves at the B site round after round.
I think honestly, I mean, against Browns and seeing what they're surmounting. I mean, Ball State, especially on this one, you can't expect too much out of them, quite frankly. I mean, obviously Texas A&M, it comes down to how much can they really kind of lock you back. And already repeating the exact same thing we saw in round number 2, where you're seeing CDs and the rest of the crew just push up right through there on B, across and over. You had that denial trying to go down from Bing Chilling, but they're just completely obliterating these guys. It's deja vu of a moment if I'd ever seen it. And it results in A&M find themselves another. So maybe exploring some different approaches here could benefit Ball State Red in these kinds of eco rounds to kind of understand what assets of the map are really being given up by Texas A&M. But I mean, if they have a game plan, they gotta at least kind of prove it to us. They're gonna find it soon.
And Aussie Frosty highlighted when they had the Outlaw in hand, upgrading now to the Operator. We'll see if this position again is unexpected for Ball State Red, but yeah, no changes from them. It's just B site, rinse, and repeat. The only difference this time noticeable is that Ian gonna be going for the mid lurk here, but it's quickly actually they refrained from. I think it's because of that snake bite. They expect maybe some early aggression from Texas A&M Maroon there off of it. So that's why they're redroning as well, as deep as they are. Casimir, though, on an exploration party to clear out A main, notices that's where the aggression is coming from. So you see a little bit of a speed up from Ball State Red here, expecting lighter numbers. But look at the rotation, too, coming out from Tampa Maroon. Correctly read Desova, the Harbor, now on their way. Bing Chilling here has been doing a great job holding down this position, but CDs gets the wraparound thanks to the Cascade clearing out Snowman. Now, even 4-on-4 with Empress online. Oh, that's a great ping, though. Look at that, the punish from KHS.
Nabber gets destroyed if that ping doesn't go off, quite frankly. You know the Harbor was going to be just swinging out, probably engaging that unnecessarily as well, but still, looking at the Empress, this is a perfect time to pop it. Go ahead and create the denial. You know that everybody's starting to come back on site for that retake. You get that flood that you're thirsting. You can get these chains to really start going their way. And it, especially when you get a blind spray through a cove, it makes it kind of a free mode, but it's not as free when you do have Aussie Frosty pushing up, just kind of denying time and just being a little mosquito in CD's ear to just bide the time for the rest of the team to get the defuse off. A fifth in a row here for Texas A&M cements themselves as seemingly the new bind form, quite frankly, with the way they're playing this.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention, you know, when you change the composition, like from a Sage to a Harbor, I feel like Sage brings a certain kind of mentality of stability to the team, to the just to your execs as well. I mean, a barrier wall can block a lot more in terms of molly of shock darts than a cove can, right? So when you're used to not having that much utility to deny your plant, your attack half becomes a lot easier. So you're asking a lot more of CDs, and while they're delivering on those early round frags, Texas A&M Maroon doubles down on the retake frags there, especially from these clutch players like Joba, and I mean, Aussie Frosty's just on a tear as well, so that doesn't help.
Aussie Frosty literally just being abysmally annoying to the side of Ball State in the last round, especially just kind of no cares given, push up, find the space. And that was even then just kind of perfectly facilitated because CDs gave up that space. Already getting pinged by that recon dart, that drove them all the way back towards their side of spawn just to pop the Empress there, rather than just kind of popping it a little bit earlier and looking to just kind of mow through the entirety of that defender side spawn. So just seeing that Ball State Red is still respecting Texas A&M, especially after the precedent they've set it for this map so far, just kind of round after round after round. Just that momentum alone is carrying enough of a menacing image to where Ball State Red are going to be taking more mistakes than they really need to be.
Yeah, but a little bit more of a proactive play this time coming out. Bing Chilling depositing themselves with the judge of all weapons, still gets the frag unscathed when opting for the deagle from the pressure that KHS's Hunter's Fury provided. Interestingly enough, though, in the meantime, they've deserted the A site, other than this Harbor player in screens here, and the Sova now joining up from their mid-escapade. So they're going to have to play more retake this go-around on the A site. With the lockdown in play for Ball State Red as well, this is going to be an interesting challenge for Tampa Maroon for the first time in this half.
Good to know they popped the lockdown after the plant occurred. We've seen Ball State definitely pop it before. But now in this kind of situation, it really comes down to just biding that time. You still have the Reckoning, so you can kind of, once you hear that thing go down, that's really what this game is right now. It's just a game of denial. What player's going to slip through the cracks? What player's going to take advantage of the moment and give it a hand? And we're just not really sure if anybody's going to take that swing just yet because there's so many guys sitting back. Even Aussie Frosty and Cage that's able to push up for free. You're saying, where is CDs? Where is this lurking Reyna? And you've already sniffed out backside. You find that player, and you know that Choku isn't going to do much against you, but nothing but a pistol and, well, just a lot of water to throw at you. With all that green gas just kind of covering up and constraining these sight lines, it creates a 6-0 situation here for Texas A&M Maroon. What a opener for them. Seemingly, just over and over again, they execute, seemingly with no resistance.
Yeah, it feels like they did not take that loss on Lotus lightly in any regard here. Returning the efforts in kind in favor here now, the side of Ball State. And I mean, as you mentioned, no signs of slowing down, especially for members like KHS, who's going out for these early aggressive first bloods and usually getting away with them. I mean, they've destroyed the Killjoy turret already, so you're going to have to see somebody go to check it out. And it looks like the answer here is for the Viper and Harbor to do so. We might even see a rotation, but they haven't even addressed the jet on pipe with the operator here, Osty Frosty. So it just feels like wherever Ball State Red goes, Texas A&M Maroon has that box checked for the time being.
And even when they don't, it's just...
And they were going to go back for one, but...
HS is able to just kind of pull down on it. Even then across the map, better yet. And so...
It's one of the longest sight lanes, too, from back of Snowman all the way into that cubby. That is a brutal shot.
Nobody's budging off just because of that. Your jet, only one on site. Austin being the only one alive, doesn't care. They're probably petrified to swing on me, so makes sense that we can just kind of keep on playing, shooting ourselves onto site. It really comes down to whether they actually think that somebody's going to be up top. Because taking this slow and finally seeing the inevitable swing in a 1v4 scenario, all right, buddy. Win or lose, there's a lot more players coming from them.
One of those Joba, the final frag in the round, 7-0. I mean, right when they make a decision to follow through, that's when it gets shut down in seconds. And, I mean, they already used one timeout in this half mix, so they use another one. I mean, that effort is gone for the remainder of the second half when you have a hope of turning things around. I mean, your economy is broken, and at this point, Texas A&M Maroon set up for the foreseeable future in that regard. We're going to see a little bit of a fragmented buy, right? These two players with the hero rifles, one with the Marshall, the rest with the Deagles. So they're trying to stagger this buy so they can put in effort round after round because they know they need points on the board at this point. But with CDs, who we said needs to be this high fragging individual on the Reyna, is first blooded. There's not much you can do. And I mean, the trades come through here from Casimir, so your Lurk player is taken out. Luckily, I mean, you could have this Viper with a Lurk, but even the alarm bot spots that out, so Spike's in no man's land. Rebo's on the receiving end of a Bing chilling Vandal and even an operator between them, so 8-0 for Texas A&M Maroon. Why not?
The fact that you see two players there, you got obviously Nabber right in front of you, and you're saying, okay, this should be an easy fight. He's 2-5, and the problem is you see Sova's blonde hair back behind him in the distance. I'm not swinging that. Yeah, I'm actually out. I'll go somewhere else. Not the case here. Ball State Red still chowing these rounds, still trying to just kind of pump something out. Look for any result here on the board, but nothing's really giving. Texas A&M Maroon just kind of not having the number of Ball State right now, just really having the whole phone book. Because everything's just being read, and they're calling them out. Whether or not it be on whatever side of the map, it seems like Aussie Frosty's there to at least get a kill or two. Looks like a player's always there to take the fight.
You're kidding. The timing from Nabber here, too, in jail. Luckily, Rebo is able to punish, but not before Frosty Frosty again is the one to steal away the first blood. Rebo finishing the job, but the operator finds another. They are on a tear. Frag after frag. Rebo and Casimir giving them hope, a glimmer in the darkness of our first round. They've opened at the B side, but the rotation being met by Joba. I mean, look at how low the Sova is. Rebo, 5
Austin said, watch this.
Bro, they're about to walk into the operator again. You're kidding. At this point, we took out the blades, but no, they don't need them.
One enemy
Look at this.
He said, watch this.
Gonna get the job done.
He said, watch this.
Those biometrics.
I know, Nick.
Texas, we're watching. We are indeed watching.
They said, I don't want to move down in the power rankings for CVH. That's what they just said.
Placing sentry.
Good God. It just... You can't help but feel bad at a certain point. I mean, 9-3, it's doable, right? But Ball State, problem is, they already called their timeout for this half. And they're saying, what do we do to even find 3? We have nothing but the time between rounds to figure it out. Nothing but a Viper spin available. You know how you're going to use that? Well, first blood's going to be a good start. But getting a post-plant scenario, and well, they found a couple of those. Just got to find another.
Ooh, this time, though, over-aggression from Nabber. Punish the Cove ensures they can't get sprayed down after getting pinged, but an early mid-push, a disrespect to the Killjoy utility, and frags online for CDs gives hope here again for a round. This time a 2v5 at stake. Joba, Clutch Master still alive, but I like this positioning here. Bing chilling though, finding Casimir. Oh, and now with the 1v4, I think this is going to be the first round. For Ball State Red and Reba with the operator doubles down on that Bacton. I mean, I know you don't believe in the 9-3 curse, but I'm sorry, but this would be a heck of a 9-3 curse if Ball State Red can get the next 2 rounds.
It'd be amazing. I mean, considering that we got to see Ball State Red replicate that a few more times. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but I mean, mentioning 9-3 and saying that they had to step it up, maybe it was just kind of us kind of mentioning that, saying, oh yeah, we do still have a couple of rounds left. We still can get on the board, and as long as you find yourself at least once, you're gonna find maybe.
Don't let Harbor.
I mean, that's all it is. Climbing up the ladder, not really thinking about the score that's in front of you, and thinking about your own and how you're gonna go step by step.
Ooh. Again, I feel like Tam and Maroon's getting ahead of themselves in this aggression. Yep. Like Ball State Red now expecting it, accordingly, I would say countering it. But this round, Naber able to at least get the trade, get out. So they're charging up their own reckoning for a retake before the half concludes. But Joba might not have been able to clutch up the round last half, adding some frags to the tally now. Turret should be able to read this kitchen aggression as well. So I'm excited to see what Joba's response is. Do they take the fight window? Do they push through mid-tunnel to re-wrap? Or do they just hold their ground? There's the answer. But now my concern is for Bing chilling over on the B site. They're just going to let them come through.
They literally barely called that. You had the Viper looking back, and with
look at Joba.
It completely extending back into kitchen. This is the best case circumstance, quite frankly.
Planted.
I agree. 3v3 now. And this pit, really hard to pave your way into because you have to go in through Nest, you have to go in through Kitchen. Both of these really thick choke points. AHS not even gonna get a chance to challenge the pit, but Naber good for the trade before he can get exhausted. Been chilling. Suddenly equates things to a one-on-one, but 30 HP. Pit still up. Reckoning still in full swing as well, along with these snake bites that'll be lethal. But like they just have the snake bite out. They don't even need the gun, and Bing chilling's like, nah, we're saving. I ain't having that. I mean, there's an operator down mid, right? They could grab that if they wanted to. I want to say there's not. Yes, there is right there. There it is. I knew it.
That's gonna put Aussie right back into place. Kind of, while it's an expensive investment, have it just alive is enough of a leash on Aussie to say, look, back up. Because I mean, with that guy not having the Vandal in hand, you know what to buy. He is in his own world right now. Oh my god. Still, it's just knowing that okay. Now that you have the operator, you don't need to extend for these first bloods. You can still play long range for him and not really sacrifice yourself in the meantime. And the rest of the team can just kind of chill out on it. But even then, the bigger thing here is Ball State Red understanding that this is the last round of the half. So all credit to them, make the investment. If you feel comfortable with that operator, which it found you at least some relative pressure, it found a kill in that first round they surmounted. Okay, it's big, but it may be the only thing that kind of gives us a chance.
And I was curious about this mid-aggression. You can see Ball State Red now trying to wrestle it back, but the Cascade prohibits it. So they get back safely to their defensive defaults here towards the A site. Interesting commitment as well of the Killjoy utility all on the A site. So mid a weak point here, and that's why they had that aggression there initially. But with numbers willing, KHS is going to be asked to do a lot, and an over peak might cost them the round as numbers advantage now has been equated. Luckily, if they decide to rebound towards the B site, that's where Aussie Frosty with the operator is lurking, lying in waiting. Should be good for a frag at least, but now, get out of dodge. Operator's surprise has been spoiled. Fortunately, there's no toxic screen to work with, right?
Yeah, fortunately. I mean, that's all Ball State still. I mean, this entire half hasn't really felt the most fortunate. That's you kind of grasping for straws. And well, even then, Snakebite kill. Lockdown employed.
They could spray that, but they're not going to. What? They're going to try and outpace these players, and that costs them around. Joku not able to catch Aussie Frosty by surprise. The 10-2 half achieved. The 9-3 curse averted here. And, I mean, pure dominance from Tam and Maroon. Showing, you know, maybe Bind isn't the map to be feared from this squad, but Icebox.
I mean, and I'd say if we're talking about, you know, fortunately, now we're in a new half, nobody has legit rifle. Momentum is now swung over. Ball State now is kind of back on ground zero. To their credit, they never really left. But Texas A&M is right back down to their level here. So it's definitely feasible now. Go ahead.
Turn out.
Hop right back on the saddle. And get yourself going. Let's see what we can manage.
Now, though, Casimir asked to fill the shoes of being chilling from the last half, being that solo B anchor. Already, swarming coming out of the side of Ball State Red, even after the first eyes have been laid upon a player for Tam and Maroon. Mainly the Reyna and the Sova now rotating over through Kitchen to reinforce Casimir's hold. Killjoy utility diminished. Site space being taken. Oh my goodness, the patience from the CDs pays off. Overheal online. They continue to fight here for this B site control, and with the cycle of the Viper utility being exhausted from them perishing. Hold on the site a lot weaker, and the round prospects broken even further down by Choku finding a lurk from Joba. A 5-2 now. 4-2.
Last player standing.
Much of one, though, considering that sheriff over there isn't going to do much else work. 10-3. Next one, A&M, understand the stakes at hand. Don't go too crazy. Don't force anything up. Understand there's a lot of rounds between you and them, but Ball State Red, they are gearing up for war. I can't blame CDs after a performance like that in the last round. Not sharing that sheriff with somebody else and then just kind of going solo for the Vandal all by your lonesome, but Texas A&M eyeing up here is still a little more surprising than that, to say the least.
Yeah, no, completely. The Stinger squad, you said don't do anything brash. That's as brash as it gets, I would say, for a second round. I mean, they didn't take kindly to, I guess, getting thriftied over on Bind, so still try, to correct that here. Aussie Frosty gonna challenge the toxic screen. The decay's still in effect, but the frags following suit. That's a Vandal, yeah. On their side for this post plant. You can see Choku trying to ensure that they can't get it back. But I mean, the Stinger, they don't even need the Vandal, Nick. Rebo. Trigger discipline, but the Spectre spray not landing, and the Thrifty is how they get their 11th, Nick.
Oh,
do you still believe you're 13-4?
Maybe. That was my prediction of the first map, was on map 3, 13-4. But I think it's still doable. I think, because, I mean, you got this round, you get the next one. It just comes down to what the buys are going to look like for that last one, whether or not Ball State want to set up for it. But they're still forced up whatever they can right now, which is what kind of concerns me, just for the sake of predictions.
Well, Vandal handed over. The rest bonusing the trophies that they had taken from the Stinger Force Up and the Spectre Carnage out of Rebo falling on the flank. So a little bit of a gamble push from CDs here. Spotted out by Aussie Frosty. Forced to retreat from the safety of the harbor utility. Drone gonna clear out these angles. Spot even Choku on top of screens. So that was your gamble player, and they've been dropped. CDs as well spotted out by Drone. Forced to retreat, and Ian's gonna go for a hero play on Jenny. Oh, the trade though. Stinger on Stinger violence. Please end it. Rebo, you can't keep flanking. They know at this point too. Nice shock dart.
CD's a one, though. Dwindling numbers.
How are they alive?
Getting damage. I mean, this is definitely feasible here.
Oh, they saw them. I really want Nabber to challenge Rebo right now, but they're gonna let them live to fight another day. And the fact that Casimir's still alive with one of these bigger weapons, with the Phantom, Joba in a really uncomfortable position. As soon as they get off the site, they're punished. So 3v2 with Aussie Frosty this low is possible. But the realm of possibility shrinking a bit off the frag from Nabber. High Tide to pave the crossover to ensure Rebo can't get the trade, but this drone, huge here.
Set up. Hope the defuse, try to clear that space. Don't want to overextend.
One.
Oh,
look for the
you're
trade.
kidding!
Oh, pushing up. Trying to answer, trying to get the defuse, and just can't find the space, nor can they find the shot. Nabber being alive there is the craziest part of that round.
Joba! Why are they pulling out the Odins? Oh no! No, what am I witnessing, Nick? It's... okay.
They're giving me my prediction. It's alright.
They're trying to give you a prediction. I think they're trying to end it here. 13-3 is in their sights. Odin's on the table. I think Casimir's not about to have a good time. Fraggleton about to get fragged on. I mean, Cascade to pave the way to get these Odins up close and personal. I mean, I don't think just one swarm grenade
Blocking sight.
on Spike's gonna be enough for this.
Blocking sight.
Oh, Stinger though. Shot plant through the cloud burst. But I mean, look at this already. The Reckoning to contest. The spray's coming in. So you cannot even swing from Nest.
Right there.
Look at that. I mean, Casimir tries to
Lost it.
force their way into the cove too.
Damage to the
Odin
wall?
spray.
Yeah, have fun.
I mean, you put up the walls up as you want, but the Odins are gonna slice right through them at this point. Even the cove, it has no hopes of protecting them on a defuse.
Under read on the flank here. That's not going to occur. One last player to Odin. All these players that are dinked up, and still Toku being the last one standing. Now only being down to 70 HP. Best thing Odin loves is a lit player, but
Oh,
headshot to go ahead and close things off. Harbor v. Harbor. All State v. Texas A&M. Damn you. The expected winner, but not to take as long
like
as
that.
we had thought. I mean... Where was this earlier on? We literally said we knew it was going to probably come to a third
content.
map. And
Farming
it's just
content.